was more than that.
I invited her, but she.
Oh, here, you got it.
Four schools were.
All right, we're just waiting on IT, everybody that's out there. We'd normally be started, but we're waiting.
The mics are on, you're good.
We're good to go then. All right, we'll get started. We'll start off with the Pledge of Allegiance. And Heather Lincoln, would you lead us in the pledge?
Republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Board members are reminded that it's our duty to avoid conflicts of interest and the appearance of conflicts of interest as we handle the work of the advisory board. Does any member of the advisory board know of any conflict of interest or any appearance of conflict with respect to any matters coming before us at this meeting? If so, please state them for the record. On blue-green? Okay. Cheryl will be recused on blue-green. Any others? If during the course of the meeting you become aware of an actual or apparent conflict of interest, please bring the matter to the attention of the chair. It will then be your duty to abstain from participating in discussion on the matter and from voting on the matter. The Charter Schools Advisory Board works to ensure the existence of high-quality charter schools in North Carolina. Do we have a motion to approve the May minutes?
So moved.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, no. The ayes have it, and the May minutes are approved. Do we have a motion to approve the June agenda?
So moved.
We got a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. The ayes have it, and the June agenda is approved. Before we get into the agenda, I think it'd be good for us to stop for a minute and remember Alan Hawks. Very sadly, Alan passed away late last week, and he had been diagnosed with lung cancer and passed away late last week. I think we'll always remember Alan. Alan is not one of those guys you could forget. And, I still think of all the emails that I got from him ragging me about wearing orange whenever Clemson win the national championship. And he told me that William of Orange was one of his favorite historical figures, so it was probably okay for me to wear that. And I hope that people will remember the sword of Damocles and that we will not let that fall away from the board. But Alan, a great guy, and really worked for 20 years on trying to advance charter schools and just high-quality education in North Carolina at Greensboro Academy, which I think we all know is a great school. And so, I'll open up the floor for anybody that wants to share anything, and then after that, maybe we'll just take a minute and a moment of silence to remember Alan.
I think, as you said, Stephen, he was a great ambassador for his school as a board member. He never let us forget.
He had two schools too.
Yeah.
Yeah, don't forget.
When we leave
Summerfield.
here a lot of days, he'd have to hurry to get to his board meeting.
So I served a very long time along with Alan, and one thing I could always say about Alan, even though he disagreed often, always wanted his point to be heard. He never took it personal, never came back there and railed into you, was always very kind and just wanted you to understand his point of view, and a real gentleman, so he'll be sorely missed.
Well, for the record, y'all know that we rode together, and for the last 6 months or more, I did all the driving because he was not able to see good. And then all this other came on top of it, so I'm driving alone now, so really gonna miss him. And we had some good conversations,
I'm sure you did.
going and coming, whichever way. Anticipation coming in and the truth going out.
Anybody else? would get
It won't be on record.
random theological emails as well from Alan, where he would want to discuss deep matters of theological import.
He
And I'm
knew-
sure you talked about that quite a bit
He
too.
knows, he knew a lot, and I think y'all might have known, he was born in England. He was a Brit. But he came over, I think when he was about 12, his parents came over. And his mother went back a time or two, but he didn't, the children didn't. And I think he still got a child in Germany, as I recall. So, he never lost his British information because we talked history. Because I'm descended from somebody in England, and probably most of us are, a lot of us are, anyway. So, anyway, we had a lot to talk about, other than charter schools.
We'll definitely miss Alan. Anybody else? Let's just take a moment and we'll think about it. Those of you that are inclined to pray can pray for his family, and just take a minute here. Right. One more thing before we move into the agenda. We've got these up here, and I don't think Tammy is going to be with us today. This will be Tammy's last meeting of the Charter School Advisory Board, so her term is expired. And so congratulations to Tammy. Hopefully she'll never have to read another charter school application. But we do have there is just a plaque here that is for her, and there's also one for Alan as well, as he had actually resigned from the board before his passing, as he'd gotten bad off. So we'll do the best we can, Dave, to make sure to get that to his family.
Yeah, and we'll talk to maybe Alan's school and present the plaque to his school, and he can put it up in the hall. So I'll contact that iconic school in Greensboro.
That would be good.
All right. Wake Preparatory Academy and North Raleigh Charter Academy application reviews. Dave or Danielle want to give us a little update on why we're doing this again?
Vice Chair Walker, Committee Co-Chair Kakadelis, and all respective members of the board, good morning. Today I'm going to provide a very brief introduction to today's discussion regarding charter application recommendations for Wake Prep and North Raleigh Charter Academy. Wake Preparatory Academy and North Raleigh Charter Academy previously appeared before this board for clarification and full interviews. Both applicants received positive recommendations from this board, with Wake Preparatory Academy receiving a recommendation to approve 7-2, and North Raleigh Academy receiving a recommendation to approve 6-4. The State Board of Education received those recommendations for discussion at its May meeting and requested supplementary information from the Office of Charter Schools related to board capacity and nearby school capacity. OCS staff supplied that information on May 15th, and it has been posted to eBoard for your reference. Following the State Board's discussion of these two applications at its June meeting, the State Board of Education referenced State Board Policy CHTR 012, Charter School Application and Review Process. Section D5 of this policy states, prior to denying any charter school application that received a majority vote to approve by the CSAB, the State Board of Education will return the application to the CSAB for further review before denial on second reading. Per this policy, the State Board elected to return the applications of Wake Preparatory Academy and North Raleigh Charter Academy to this board. The CSAB is now asked to conduct an additional review of these two particular applications and to send another recommendation to the State Board for a vote in July. Ashley Beccaro and Eric Snyder provided this board with guidelines for today's discussion via email on Friday. Unless there are any questions for me, I will now turn the discussion over to Vice Chair Walker.
Okay. Anybody have any questions? All right, I want to kind of expand on that just a little bit before we jump into it. And I think it would be good for us to talk about process a little bit first of how this goes. Applications for new charters were due, what, September 30th? Was that the date? October 1. October 1 was when applications were submitted, and as you know, the Office of Charter Schools jumps on right away to make sure that they're complete, and they know right then where the schools are going to be, the proposed schools are going to be. And on October 8th of 2018, Dave Machado sent a letter to the Wake County Public School System and said, there are 8 applications for charter schools in Wake County. You're not required to submit an impact statement, but if you want to submit an impact statement so that we can consider those things, please have it to us by October 19th, 2018. Why? Because that would give time for the Office of Charter Schools to evaluate it, that would give time for this board to evaluate it, and ultimately give time for the state board to evaluate it. We actually heard both these schools. We did a clarification interview, no word from Wake County Public Schools. We did a full interview, an hour-long interview, still nothing from Wake County Public Schools. The State Board of Education heard it on first reading to discuss it, still nothing from Wake County Public Schools. Right before the meeting of the State Board where they would actually vote to whether to accept or reject our recommendations, on June 3rd, 2019, Wake County Public Schools submitted an impact statement asking the State Board to deny the 5 schools that we had recommended for approval in Wake County. And now here we are. Yeah, they asked for all 5 to be denied for different reasons, but mainly because they believe that there's a saturation of charter schools in Wake County. I think there's a few issues with that. First of all is the wait list in Wake County schools, charter schools, and especially in the area that these 2 schools are in. You've got Envision with 956 students on their wait list. You've got Endeavor with 1,476 students on their wait list. Franklin Academy has over 1,000 students on their wait list. And Rollsville Academy has 1,569 students on their wait list. Some pretty substantial wait list. And I believe Wake Forest Charter has got a substantial wait list as well. I think it's over 1,200 if I remember correctly. So you've got 5 schools with some pretty substantial wait list. I'm not sure that saturation's a problem. You've got students that are there. I think in the end, this starts to become a philosophical question. And to put it maybe, I guess, as bluntly as you can, the question is if parents aren't making the choice we like, maybe we shouldn't let them have the choice. And I think that maybe is where we're at with this, and that's the question that we're asking. And these are back. The Wake Preparatory Academy, it was 7-2. That's not a close vote. And I think we evaluated all that, and I think we're going to hear a little bit more about maybe some stipulations that they would be willing to take to maybe ease some of the concerns that the state board had. But on top of that, the other vote was 6-4. While yes, it was a closer vote, I think it's something that we can discuss, and I don't think that our problem so much with that, if you go back and look at the minutes, those 4, had to do more with board capacity than with the desire for parents to have another charter school in the area. So I think that's really where we're at, is we're coming back in and looking at it again. Wake County is, as you know, just has a $500+ million bond for school capital and construction that they have approved. Just did a 10% property tax increase to get $48 million more dollars to come in. Wake County's ADM went up 42 last year, 42 students. So I don't know if it's so much a money thing. There seems to be plenty of money going around there with that 10% property tax increase. So I don't know what the real issue is other than a philosophical difference. And so I think that's really kind of where we're at. So before we call the schools up to ask them if they have any questions, I didn't know if anybody else has any comments.
I have a couple of strong opinions on this. I give a lot of credit to Amy White, who is the chair of our EICS committee at the State Board of Ed. She made the very definitive point that Wake County had the opportunity to follow proper procedure and submit at the right time any documentation that they wanted to support that there was a capacity issue. They did not follow that protocol, and Amy made the point to the board that to come to us the week in before the vote is absolutely inappropriate. And the worst message we could send to the state board and to the charter community is that we're gonna cave into that kind of last-minute pressure when folks don't follow proper procedure. So my recommendation, even though I don't get a vote here, is to very strongly give it right back to the state board and said, we did our due diligence, we've done the work, we've done it since the cap has been lifted in 2011 to the tune of only 30% of charter applications that came to this board since 2011 have been approved or recommended. If that's not tough scrutiny, I don't know what is. We are charter school advocates and we're approving 30% of those applications. The diligence has been done by this board and it deserves to move forward without any stipulations or any changes because of last-minute pressure from anti-charter folks out there. That's all I'll say.
I have something I'd like to say. I was sitting in the room when all this discussion was happening at state board level. And there was a comment made that, regarding the split votes, that some votes board members consider heavier, or they're weighted votes. The opinion of some of us versus others of us, whether you operate a charter school or not. And since I personally do not operate a charter school, I want for the record some information because I would like my vote to be just as weighted as each one of yours. I don't think any of our votes should be weighted more or less. And I know I look young, but I've been involved in education, teaching since 1975, when I graduated from college. I served on the Charlotte-Mecklenburg Board of Education 2 terms. While serving on the Charlotte-Mecklenburg Board of Education, I also directed Children's Scholarship Fund, which managed $3 million of private money for low-income families to go wherever they would want to go to school. I visited every private school those children went to, and even will say that I helped close a school, a private school, because I refused to send the scholarships to that school because it was not safe. I have no problem closing schools. The reason why is because the child is more important than any school. The child is the most important. Since then, I have worked with education policy since, when I quit teaching, and since then, worked with charter schools. So over 40 years, I've been involved in education. And I know some of the state board members may not know me very well. And so I just want to make sure that they know that even if I'm not operating a charter school, I have been very much involved with operators of charter schools and charter schools since 1996, and was on the board of the charter school, one of the first ones that started. So hopefully, maybe we can get to know some of the state board members a little better so that they know that all of our voices are just as important. And we've been appointed to this board by different groups, but I think all of our votes should be weighted the same.
Anybody else?
I guess my question, Stephen, is what is their main reason for kicking it back to us? I mean,
The stated reason was that there was information that was submitted after we made our recommendation, and so they have
From the
sent
county.
it back to us
Yeah.
for us to look at that.
that's the same
information.
goes with our process. We don't consider any information that comes to us after the deadline.
Yeah, if you're after the
We've-
deadline and
we've
you're
actually-
incomplete, we kick the application.
No. And, or even, we've had schools come before us, clarification, and we'd ask questions, whatever, and then they'd come back to their interview with, plethora of other information, and we're like, no, that's not what we read, that's not what we looked at, that's not what we're basing our judgment on. I mean, we have to take it on the face value of the application that is submitted.
Also, Wake County has submitted impact statements before, earlier on, so it's not like they don't understand the process. So to come in at the end of the process and then want to upend the whole thing, really, I don't think that's a good precedent to set.
Well, I'm insulted to think they may not consider my vote. I'm the only one here who's never taught school. I've never been on the board of a charter school. I tried when they first started charter schools in Guilford County. I was on the board, to be on the board of one. And back in those days, there weren't people that supported charter schools, were the board, and we got turned down. So I have been interested in charter schools because I want to see the children of North Carolina and the country educated, well educated for the future jobs that are going to be out there. And I don't see that happening in some of the counties, in the I call the regular schools. So charter schools give them competition that maybe they will get better. And that's why I'm here.
I think Stephen's right, talking about the philosophical issues. I mean, the basic question is this. Do children and families exist for the system? Or does the system exist for the children? And sometimes actions speak louder than words, and I think some people feel that, the children exist for the system.
Yeah.
I believe that's, yes.
And they're only
But that's
concerned
not
with
what should
how
be.
much money they're making.
Well, but that's the philosophical balance of this.
Let's, Ms. Parlay, would you mind coming to the podium and explain to us? I know that y'all had had some discussions with people on the state board about some possible stipulations, and anybody from the EMO is
Yes, I
fine
have.
too. And y'all can maybe tell us a little bit about what the proposed stipulations that apparently y'all are okay with, so that we could look at that.
Oh, well, thank you very much. And also, Charter Schools Advisory Board, thank you so much for putting us on the agenda at the last minute. We really appreciate that. And Office of Charter Schools for uploading our materials for you today. And I would like to say one thing about Alan. Alan, this is for you, because when I sat where you sat, I sat a lot of days beside Alan. So, and I just found out this morning. Thank you for allowing me to say that. One concern that the State Board of Education had, of course, was the enrollment numbers. We're not concerned about our application, but to address this concern for others, my board has worked diligently with Charter One to determine what enrollment level we could go to and still be financially viable while remaining true to our mission, vision, and values. And these numbers are before you. And with me today, I have Bill Guttery, who's Chief Operations Officer. And in back, I have Bob Plowman, who's the Chief Financial Officer. So this slide here, the original numbers on the application at the top where it says 2021, total enrollment will be 1,605, 22, 1,855, and 23, 2,105, and of course that would be a capacity for years 4 and 5. So after working with Charter One, we would propose reducing the first year to 915, second year 1,420, and third year and capacity 1,620. So this is a stipulation that we had proposed to them to be able to cooperate to work with the enrollment.
It's parlay. That's
Yes.
1620. You said that would be maximum.
That would be the maximum for 3 and 4 and 5 as well.
And what percentage of this number is Wake versus Randolph? Is that the other?
What is that now?
What percentage of this number would be Wake County versus Franklin? Okay.
Oh, well, it would depend on how many kids that we get. Obviously, we would get more kids from Wake than we would Franklin or Granville, and possibly Johnston as well. So until we get the numbers, we couldn't say exactly from whence they came.
You don't remember what you budgeted for though?
For each county.
In the budget, did you break it down by?
Oh, you mean the original number?
I can tell you. I'll look at it.
Is that what you're saying? Robert, would you, where's Robert? You need to be up here.
Yeah, we budgeted about 90% for Wake.
Okay.
Okay, thank you very much for that.
And then you're also proposing a 35% weighted lottery for free and reduced lunch.
Exactly, and we announced that to you at 15% at our full interview. So the board is willing to go up to 35% for the economically disadvantaged.
And you are already, in your original application, providing transportation, right, running buses.
Well, not fully,
And-
only for those who would need it.
Yeah, but you did have bus transportation available.
Right, exactly.
And then also you were taking part of the free and reduced lunch program.
Yes, indeed.
State program.
Yes,
Okay.
indeed. We just upped the percentage from 15% to 35%. And of course, we know that we would take care of these amendments during the ready to open process for any amendments that we may need.
Now, I think we need to realize that the enrollment is spread out kindergarten through 12th grade, or does it stop at
We will
10th
start
grade?
K-10.
K-10?
Yes.
Okay, and then over in 2 years?
And then 2 more years, we'll be at 12th grade, K-12. Yes. And we saw the need being there. That was the first thing we established, was the need for our school, based on the population growth, wait lists, overcrowdedness, cap schools.
It was
So we
very-
did our homework.
It was very interesting to me during the state board meeting. The capacity numbers that you received from Wake County showed that all of the schools in the immediate area were over 100% capacity.
Exactly.
Okay, and then material we got later said that there were empty seats. They were under capacity. I think I just need to make this very clear, because one of the board members that was a former board member of a school system said that sometimes these capacity numbers are not accurate. I remember when I was on the board, Charlotte-Mecklenburg board, I used to get a little frustrated because when it became bond time, all of our schools were at 100% capacity or more. And so I think it's kind of interesting that, at bond time, the schools are over capacity, we just don't have any room. And then if there's a charter school that comes in the area where the facilities would totally be paid by the operating money you're receiving, we've got empty seats and we just, we don't need the charter school.
Didn't
I
the
just thought
document
that was
also say
Understood.
Isn't that amazing?
the net enrollment for?
Thank you for
Wake
that,
last
Ms.
year
Lindeney.
increase was only like 900.
42 students. 42.
42 students.
42? So we're saying that we got only 42 more kindergartners than we graduated seniors, I guess.
No,
New kids.
K-12.
42?
42.
One thing I'd like to add here is I feel a little uncomfortable recommending that you change the enrollment numbers that's in the original charter. What I think makes a lot more sense is a revised break-even number, because in the original charter, I think the break-even was about 1,400. Now you're saying you think you can operate with 900. I think that's more reasonable to say we're going to shoot for the 1,600. That's how our charter was approved. But we know that if we fall short, we have comfort that we can make it work with 915 as our new break-even number. That to me would be a much more reasonable change. I think to substantially change the original charter would be problematic. I think would set a very negative precedent that we don't want to see happen.
Agree,
Plus, when they
agree.
get ready to open, when they get near the end, ready to
Correct.
open, if their numbers aren't at 75%, they can modify then anyway.
Exactly,
We require a new
exactly.
budget nor everything. So, to me, that would be the more prudent way to proceed.
But the big difference there would be in the facility size. If you're
Right.
talking about downsizing 500 students, that's a huge change in your facility size.
Right.
That was just to show what we would be willing to do and where we could go. But no, we are sticking with our original numbers.
That was gonna be my question, is the impact of these lower numbers on your facilities plans and everything from the size of the property to what you were originally planning it, without going into the weeds of your new budget. assuming you've
Exactly.
Taken care of that one.
Yes.
I just based off what Linda Lynn had just said, I just did a Google search for Wake County school construction bonds overcrowding, and that's a lot of the way that the bond was sold that was on the ballot.
Schools were over.
Yeah, that the schools were overcrowded, so they needed more construction.
Now they're-
But not charter school.
Now some of them are only, 40%. I don't know.
Yeah. You can't have your cake and eat it too.
I don't know why you'd want to have a cake if you weren't going to eat it. But I guess we could talk this thing to death, really. I mean, I think if if this is what the state board needs to feel comfortable moving forward, then I'm okay with it. I was okay with the original application as it is, and I think generally when we've saw something like that was kind of an issue, it's been taken care of during the ready to open process. I don't think it's a good idea for us to get in the habit of amending applications before they've been approved. But I'm fine. I mean, if the state board feels like they need to put a stipulation on this, that there'll be a 35% weighted lottery and the first year will be the 9 and change that they're proposing as a stipulation, I'm okay with that. If that's what the state board feels like that they have to do, I think the school would work the way that it currently is in the application. And then I know that there's the thought on the other side as well. If we do that, then does it just mean that after every school that leaves this board, if they get pushback from the state board, that it starts a negotiation process of making changes to the applications and changing enrollment numbers and things like that? I don't know if it's a good precedent to set.
It is not.
Well,
It is definitely not.
Stephen, I'm a little confused about what it is they're asking us to consider. If the issue is they want us to consider this information that came in later, then I think what we need to be addressing is you can't show up at the last minute with stuff, we have deadlines. If the issue is they have real concerns about the application and the numbers in the application, that's a whole different issue, and I'm a little confused now about what it is we're.
Or
I think it's a mixture.
if the
Depends
county
on
is
which state board you
saturated.
asked. Yeah.
I mean, if that's the issue, they don't like that both of these schools are in Northeast Raleigh because there are many, many schools in that area. I mean, that's a completely different issue also.
How many of them live in Wake County, the members of that board?
I really don't know.
So are we're trying to pacify somebody in Wake County?
I guess I just need to know what it is we're responding to. I had real concerns about the numbers too. I wasn't here the day we voted, but I had real concerns about the numbers. However, I respect the fact that we have a majority rule board. And I would have got outvoted, given what the numbers are, I already got them outvoted anyway. So I support what the board decided. But I think it's a totally different issue if what we're talking about is when people submit stuff. Then I don't think all the rest of this even makes any difference, because we have deadlines, we need to keep them.
Right.
And this was submitted too late to be considered.
Right. The most positive message we could send back to the state board is to get the word out that if you've got concerns, you need to follow the timelines as well as everyone else in the process.
Right.
Don't reward folks for doing something after the fact. if we send any stipulations back as recommendations, we're rewarding folks who don't follow the process.
Right,
I think that's a bad idea.
and what are we gonna do about the next one?
So I totally agree on that. We've got to stay with process. And my colleagues, how many charter applications have we thrown out simply because they didn't have a page here or a page there? Their application was
signature.
not complete, a signature. And, boy, if we do this, we're opening a can of worms.
That's right.
I echo what you guys have said, and I think to Sherry's point about what is it that we're considering? It is a no-go past, they didn't get it in on time.
Right.
And we're just gonna, it's gonna be so blurry every time because someone can stand up now at the state board and say, well, what about this? And then send it back. And I just think we have to at least draw the line in the sand and say that our timeline is our timeline and
Yeah.
it means something. Support that.
The one repercussion for that is we should expect to get directly from folks complaints or concerns, hopefully following the right timeline. That was one of the suggestions from the state board. Well, why are we getting this? Why isn't the advisory board member getting this information?
Send them to us.
Exactly, but that message needs to get out there. If they've got a concern, number one, follow the timeline. Number two, contact the right folks, not directly the state board the week before. So the two things I hope we will, recommend to the state board when we present this is, number one, we all have to follow the timeline and the processes. That wasn't done in this pushback. And number two, we've only approved 30% of applications the last 10 years. So we're doing our diligence here at this board. So please respect these recommendations. I think that's the message that needs to get to the state board.
So, Mr. Chair, do we ask now for a unanimous vote
Well,
from Charter Schools Advisory Board?
I mean, somebody would need to make a motion on what the board wants to do.
Yeah,
Well, I think the state board sent it back and asked us to review the additional information and including what Wake Prep has provided and I'm assuming including what Wake County has provided and make a recommendation on the school. I mean, that's, I was in the meeting. I think Linda Lynn was there. I know Joe was there. Dave, I know, was there as well. We got him out of the hospital finally. Got him going. I mean, was that what you heard the state board saying, Dave?
I think you've already articulated what the state board has asked for. I think Ms. White and EICS is concerned about the process and making sure that we follow the correct process. And if people can come to the state board after CSAP has made its recommendation, that's a concern. Our office also has a concern that, are you guys getting ready to vote on a completely different application than what you voted on 3-4 months ago? And that's I think I have issues with that. And numbers can be changed during the RTO process. That's what the RTO process is for. And you guys are constantly seeing amendments for decrease in enrollment, moving of facilities and things like that. So
I think we have some of those on the agenda today.
I think you do, right. So I think you need to take all that into consideration. I do think that it was a reaction to all the communication that state board got from the people living in the North Raleigh area. And then when Wake Prep offered lower enrollment, that might have been a way to appease those community members. I'm not sure, but our office has concerns about it. Are we getting ready to vote on a different application that was presented to you 3 months ago?
I have a procedural question. We've already voted on this application. Why do we need to re-vote on it? Would not the re-vote only be if we're declaring that we want to move this forward with the weighted lottery, with the lower numbers? To me, that would be a change to the original application. But do we need to re-vote? I mean, we've already approved, this board has
Can we
approved this
say
application.
in our motion that we would like to return these two applications to the state board as previously presented.
I
The
think,
issues are different in the two applications, aren't they?
Yeah.
right.
And I think, I know we're,
Wake prep.
We probably
as-
need to do them one at a time.
Gotcha.
Right.
But I think, I think it's the same concept, though, of following process.
right.
And that is my biggest concern. Not that we vote on the application, we can just say we support what the Charter School Advisory,
Board
I think we stand by the original vote, because if you're
Yeah.
asking me to re-vote,
we stand by it, but then we say something about the process because of the importance of the timeline and process. We stand by we stand by the original.
That we must all adhere by the rules.
And I think,
Comfortable with a motion
Yeah.
like that, because I voted against the other school, and I would not be comfortable now saying nothing changed, so I wouldn't be comfortable voting for that, but I can be comfortable voting for, I stand by what we originally said.
Exactly.
And that people need to follow the process.
and I'll be so bold as to say a unanimous vote to say, we did our diligence, we did the work, we're standing by the recommendation, would go a long way.
And saying something about the process. We support the process. It's very important that we all
Yeah.
support the process.
And even this issue of modifying the numbers, we have a plan in the process for that to happen.
Right.
If it needs to happen when they get closer, ready to open.
I think what I'm kind of feeling here is that someone would just take a vote that says, we believe the state board should adopt the recommendations of the majority of the Charter School Advisory Board. You know, even though, you know, for instance, I think Cheryl, I think you voted no on North Raleigh Charter. But you still, and you did too, Sherry, but that you still believe that the process works, and I
the
think,
recommendation that went forward, I was very comfortable with that.
so, and I mean, and if the.
I can support that, Stephen, because, yes, whatever
We have
issues
to-
I had,
Maintain,
the body
yeah.
ruled, and, you know, I support the body.
Now, if the state board wants to put stipulations on it that include changes in the ready to open process, that's the state board's prerogative. They may be good, they may be not, but I think the process, that's where that would come into the process. Right now, I mean, we have said before to some schools, you know, when they came up, and we already said it with Wake Prep, when they came in for their full interview, they said, we had a board meeting and we want to do a 15% weighted lottery, and we said, well, that would be great. Work on that during the ready to open process and submit it as an amendment. Now they've said, well, you know, we've gone back and looked again, and we think we can get 35% in a weighted lottery. And so, but I think that's part of the ready to open process more so than it is the application process. I don't think you can just you can come in and, because the next thing is going to be, well, in the ready to open process, we're going to totally change our curriculum. We're going to be a classical school in the ready. I mean, you know.
Instead of a Montessori.
Yeah, instead of Montessori. I mean, yeah, I don't know how much, you know, but changes that are more on the operations side rather than the educational side, I think makes sense during the ready to open process.
Okay.
So, guess why don't we, before we take any vote or anything, does anybody have any questions for the North Raleigh Charter folks? Do we have anybody here from that board? We do. We've got some people. Thank you, Ms. Parlay.
My pleasure, sir.
And team.
Thank you guys for hearing me. From the nature of the comments, we have a number of slides showing capacity, been showing enrollment, but I'm going to concentrate my comments around two things that I think could be helpful to the conversation. So quick review, our application was for only 615 students. This is about half the size of our school in Cary. We did that in a very concentrated and purposeful way. And our application was put forth with a weighted lottery. This is our proposed school location, the yellow dot. I know that's tough to see, but it's a great location at the end of dead-end roads. there was some conversation. I hope this comes out better. Yeah. There's some conversation later about where it is in the bigger picture. I just think that this next couple of slides is really going to help you guys with any evidence you want that the schools did their proper homework. And of course, you can't see it to the bottom here, but if you go to Wake County, hopefully these slides will be made available to the board. And if you go to Wake
They're on
County's,
the e-board, everybody.
okay, so if you go to Wake County's own website, at the very bottom there's a red circle and it says Facility Usage Report. It was opened in December. It was updated December 3rd of 2018. That arrow goes to the PDF that you can download. I've provided links to both. From that data, you can see all the surrounding elementary schools and middle schools around our school. You'll see that from Wake County's own data, every one of these schools are over 100% capacity, with the exception of Wakefield Middle, which is at 99%. So those comments were really confusing to me because this is sort of the first place we start in trying to find a site location. And I'd really encourage you all to look at this data as further evidence that the charter schools that are coming before you did their homework in choosing a site location.
I have a question. This information is just, it's vital, it's so important. I don't know if there's ever been a precedence like this, but since there's just 2 schools and since the State Board of Education, and we're gonna make a motion, I think, and vote what we talked about. But if there's still a lot of questions, could these 2 schools present to the State Board of Education?
State Board of Ed does not allow the public to address.
But they should have access to this.
That's what I'm thinking, and maybe as we present, again, I don't know what's gonna be asked in July. It will be a conference call, won't it?
Yes.
So, I don't know as far as slides or anything, but I wanna make sure the State Board gets this information.
We will certainly provide them with this information.
If that's what you're putting out to the public, it's a little hard then to turn around and say, all our schools are under.
Well, and you would think that the county taxpayer would be thrilled because facilities, there's not a bond for these 2 schools.
Yeah, right, it costs them less.
Well, the facility costs them nothing.
That's what I mean. The citizens in that county won't have to pay the price for a building.
Again, I think it goes back to a philosophical.
But my concern is that what they presented was, there's no need because the schools we have already are full. And that, in fact, is, one of those 2 things is not true.
Right.
You either have what's on your website's not true, and that's what you told all your citizens, or what you told the state board's not true. But one of those 2 things cannot both be true.
Actually, excuse me, in my 20 years of serving students in North Carolina, and I know we've crossed paths in CMS previously, to help the board, because in a previous career, I represented 147,000 students in CMS. Actually, both data points are accurate, depending upon whether you're including mobile units and including the empty seats in the mobile units. So having worked on the other side in the traditional system, and you present data out, I heard the board talk earlier how you can have 2 data stories. One data story is your facility capacity. The other story is your programmatic capacity. And when you drop a mobile unit, and a mobile unit can hold 32 seats, it won't show up in a facility overcapacity report. But when you go to talk about empty seats, you may have empty seats tied to a mobile unit. So obviously, I'm working on behalf.
Well, it goes back to statistics don't lie. You just change the formula.
And I'd like to point out that almost all of these numbers that are well over 100% are even with mobile seats. They're at capacity. And I can tell you from personal experience that many of those don't have any more room for any more trailers, and they're well over capacity as they are today.
And in the, excuse me, Alan, in the PowerPoint that Dr. Allen provided you, it shows the capacity with trailers and without trailers. You have that information in it.
I mean, even then, the question is we've got all these wait lists in these areas at charter schools. Do we say, well, there's a seat for your student at the Wake County Public School System, so you can't go to a charter school?
You don't have a choice.
That is defeating the purpose of the charter school.
That's the philosophical question that I
Well,
talked
and if
about at
that many-
start.
If there are that many people on waiting lists, for some reason, there are people who want to do something different.
And we should have the privilege of sending our children where we want to send them.
But again, I think it comes back to, for this consideration, it comes back to process. This information still was not provided at the time it was, should have been provided to be considered for the decision about whether or not to approve the school.
I do not have a motion, and I'm trying to pose one here. But based upon what my colleagues here have said, let's go ahead and make a motion that we move that we accept our vote from the original vote of moving these two applications forward. Again, I'm gonna have to word this correctly.
You want me to?
Yeah, if you'll help me with that.
Do we have a motion to recommend to the State Board of Education that they accept the recommendations originally proposed by the Charter School Advisory Board? Do we have a motion?
And I make that motion.
Right, so we have a motion, we have a second, so a motion by Linda Lynn, second by Sherry Reeves. Do we have any further discussion on that motion? The only thing I will say is just to reiterate the point that I made before, if the State Board decides they want to put stipulations, that's with them. I think that the Charter School Advisory Board, we are very comfortable in the process that over 6 years we have refined to the point. I think it was just this year that we had the first charter school that we had voted to approve open and then close, and that was that's the first one in 6 years that we've had. Otherwise, our track record's good because our process is good and our procedure's good. And I think if the State Board wants to put a stipulation on it, the State Board can put a stipulation on it. That's part of their process. I think this board passed it without stipulations, and we're ready to move forward.
Right, I would like to add something to the motion, if it's okay, saying that we respect the process and want to see the process continue.
I don't think that needs to be part of the motion.
Okay.
I think they're gonna get
that's the
We're gonna get that? Okay, all right.
So we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion or debate? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, no. The ayes have it. That's unanimous. That we recommend to the State Board that they accept the previous recommendations of the Charter Schools Advisory Board. So that'll get us through with that there. One last thing that I'll note on that before we move to the amendment request is I do have the honor of chairing the policy committee. One of the things I think the policy committee needs to look at is how we might address an issue such as this in policy. We've got a lot of policy that says if the charter applicant tries to submit more things, that we're not going to consider them. The question is we need to have some sort of timeline if somebody else is going to submit something so that we can actually consider everything when the application's
Stephen,
fresh
didn't
on
you
our
say
minds.
that the Office of Charter Schools notified all these counties?
They notify the districts, but some of these people were private citizens, and so they.
But
need to know that-
everything is open to public record.
But we don't specifically say if you want to, if the public wants to comment, it has to be by X date.
And I think that's something we can consider during some of our downtime before the next application cycle starts. So,
Who's
all right.
downtime?
We're going to move on to amendment request. Ashley Vaquero, we'll go through, let's go ahead and go through the first 5, and then we'll take a little break before we get into Connections Academy. How's that?
Okay, I just want to propose, I want to clarify, the ready to open interviews will begin at 10:15, and we have people calling in for some of these. So I'm just wondering if perhaps we want to maybe do Connections really quick, or North Carolina Cyber Academy. So we'll be on track for the ready to open interviews.
Is anybody here from Mena, Evergreen, Willow Oak, Pocosin, or Two Rivers?
No, they wouldn't have come for the amendment
Probably, they
request.
usually don't come for
All right,
that.
well then let's do that then. Let's go ahead and we'll jump into Cyber Academy and let's do them first. If you want to tell us about the amendment that they're requesting, and then we'll get an update from them, and we'll kind of combine those two things together and then make that decision.
Sure, that works. So the amendment request on behalf of North Carolina Cyber Academy is exactly the same as the amendment request you heard last month from North Carolina Virtual Academy. And as we spoke last month, the original pilot legislation for the 2 virtual schools capped enrollment at 2,592. but there was also language in that legislation that allowed the state board to waive that maximum student enrollment beginning in the 4th year of the school's operation. And so the North Carolina Cyber Academy is requesting an amendment to grow by 20% annually as allowed in statute for charter schools that are low performing. So very similar to what we heard last month. And currently it looks like enrollment is 2,512 students. They have 2,180 students enrolled for the school year with 398 students on the wait list.
Would you give me those figures again, Ashley?
Current enrollment, 2,512. And then as of June 6th, I was told from the school that they have 2,180 students enrolled for next school year and 398 students on the wait list.
So with the wait list, is it because they have a cap per grade?
I believe so, and they mentioned that, I did ask the school about that, and they said they are waiting for the kids that are graduating, and then they will be moving kids from the wait list to the normal enrollment.
So the difference between the 2512 and the 2180, is that graduating students? I didn't think they had that many graduating.
That's returning committed students.
Returning, yeah.
Yeah, but that's a big drop. And
Yeah.
they're asking for an increase.
Yeah.
So I'm just trying to figure out what's this drop.
I don't know, I mean, when I asked about it, it was based on kids that are graduating, so I don't know if it's maybe a combination of kids that are graduating and kids that are actually returning and enrolled for next year. I was also told from the school that they have, I don't know how many, but that they have students that they are waiting for the intent to return forms. So they just haven't fully enrolled for next year.
But 2,180 have returned the forms.
Yes,
And-
are actually enrolled for next school
Actually
year.
enrolled.
So what was their ADM? I guess the 20% increase that they're asking for is based off their ADM from this year, correct?
I believe they're asking for 20% from the statutory cap. So the cap is 2592. They want to grow 20% from that, which I don't know. I don't have that exact figure in front of me right now.
Do we know what their 20-day ADM was?
They have a different ADM model.
Oh,
They have a different
they don't do
ADM model,
20-day.
right?
Okay,
Yeah.
forget that then.
Is there, are there any other compliance issues?
Not that I'm aware of. Obviously, we're doing the monthly reporting, which you will hear shortly. We are receiving monthly several different types of updates from the school. So this is the first month, and you've seen what was submitted for this month. That will continue monthly until, it's. this
We
board
did
decides-
receive something from the EC department, excuse me, that they are, only 83% of their IEPs are getting done in 90 days. In 2016-17, that was 53%, and in 2015-16, it was 31%. So the percentage has increased, but it's only at 83.78% right now from the time an IEP is requested to the time it's done. There's a 90-day window. We just got that in the last week.
I have a question, and
If
maybe,
it's, excuse me, if it's less than 90%, EC considers that non-compliant.
And you said they're at 53?
They were.
83.
It was went from 31, 53 to 83. So last, at 17, 18, it was at 83.78%.
and this may be a question for the folks from the school themselves. I'm just curious with the transition, we talked about concerns about families who would stick around, not stick around. I'm curious if they know the percentage of students who were eligible to return, like obviously not graduating seniors, but the percentage of students who could have returned for the next school year, how many, that 2180 number, what percentage does that represent?
Yeah, the school, I'm not sure, but the school, I'm sure could probably answer that question.
Would you like for them
Let's,
to address
uh,
that, Mr. Friend?
I was gonna say, let's go ahead and let's get Cyber Academy up here to talk, and what we'll do is we'll go ahead and get your monthly update, and that will help us to be able to determine whether we should recommend this increase or not.
Okay, my name is Jill Hammergren. I am the secretary of the NCCA board. I'm here with our president, Bridget Pfeiffer, and one of our board members, Leland Davis. And we're here to make our report as required by CSAB. First of all, we are in a transition, and we have several people to thank: our leadership team, our staff, our families, our students, the board, our attorneys, our support team, and our vendors, and the Office of Charter Schools for pitching in to make this transition run smoothly. It's definitely a team effort, and we have a great team behind it, so we're very pleased with that. Our update will include 5 sections: enrollment, which you just heard some about, our upcoming graduation on June 13th, teacher retention, testing, and a transition summary. So we'll start right in with the enrollment. As you heard, our enrollment is on track and doing well. As of 6/6, we have 2,180 students enrolled for the 2019-20 school year. We have 157 families who have yet to respond with their enrollment intentions. And we have nearly 400 new students applied in the early enrollment date of May 1st, and those families are going through the enrollment process. We did have 391 did not say, the intent to return was no, and 177 of those are graduates. And as I said, we had 157 have yet to respond. These enrollment figures really are remarkable given the fact that we have spent no advertising money for the North Carolina Cyber Academy, and at the same time that the EMO has been telling families that the school is closing, and they've been offering opportunities to enroll in their own private school without giving any information about what's happening with the school. So now I just want to move on to what's really exciting is our graduation. We have a graduation on, it's our second and largest graduating class. It takes place on June 13th at 11 o'clock at Sanderson High School. 177 seniors will be graduating during the spring session. We had 23 seniors graduate in the winter session for a total of 193 graduates for the 2018-19 school year. And 83% of them will attend colleges, universities, and other professional degrees and certifications. Several also are pursuing careers in professional sports, entertainment, art, design, and other areas. 48% of them will attend a 4-year college. 50% of them will attend a 2-year college or program. And many of our graduating class have received a variety of scholarships, honors, merits, sports, leadership service, and other academic achievements. And while every student in there is really unique at North Carolina Cyber Academy, I want to share a student spotlight with one of our seniors, Kylie Gardner. And she filled out this spotlight report. She said, "My name is Kylie Gardner. I am a 16-year-old competitive cyclist and dually enrolled high school and college student. I'm preparing to enter King University as the youngest recruit in history with an associate's degree in art. My greatest accomplishment is a 2-way tie between being accepted to King University as the youngest recruit in the school's history and maintaining an unweighted 5.0 GPA while completing high school and college courses and racing competitively."
How can you have an unweighted 5.0?
No, it's weighted.
It's weighted.
That's a weighted one.
This is what she wrote.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so we have to have a little.
I'm sorry, I just
variance on
thought
it.
maybe we went to a 5-point scale.
No. So the question was, words of wisdom, what do you wish you knew about high school? I wish I had known that high school is not as nerve-wracking or as scary as it seems. I went to high school not knowing that there would be resources around every corner to help me because I was warned by my middle school teachers that high school was very strict. However, that was not the case. My words of wisdom are, do not stress yourself over entering high school. Just relax, communicate with your teachers, and do your best work. And the question was, what are you doing next? After I graduate, I will be going to King University to get my bachelor's and master's in 3 years, then on to Wake Forest or UNC Chapel Hill to get my JD in law. And she said, what do you want to include that I didn't ask? I want to say thank you to the amazing faculty and students that helped me get where I am. Without them, I would not be graduating this early, and nor would I have so much fun during my high school years. So we want to always remember that the school is, and our board is committed to the students, and I wanted to highlight one of them like that. When we get to teacher retention, all of our teachers have submitted an intent to return with 97% retention rate. And as all of you know as educators, school testing at end of the year is a humongous important part of the school process across the state. And for an online virtual school, it's really a monumental task. And for the specifics of the testing at NCCA, I want to turn it over to Dr. Nathan Curry, our superintendent for NCCA.
Good morning. I'd like to also recognize some of the staff members with me today. I have my Director of Operations, Christina Robertson, and our Director of Curriculum and Instruction, Demita Blunt. So real quickly, the virtual testing is a phenomenal task, I think, as Jill said, and I just wanted to give an update about how this operates, because I think there's a lot of fascination with this, and there's a lot of challenges. As you can imagine, as a virtual school, we are across the state, and we're testing kids across the state, and so that encompasses over 8,000 test booklets that this school is responsible for. For 2 weeks, my staff of 100 teachers, they live in hotels. They live in those centers across the state with those test booklets secured. And for the past 4 years, we have not had any test booklet loss. We have accounted for all thousands and thousands of those test booklets, as well as staff members. We don't want staff members to get lost as well. So it is a task that we are certainly taking on. We have learned a lot from how state testing operates. We have created some great partnerships with businesses and venues across this great state of North Carolina in order to roll out state testing. You know, one may ask, well, what about online testing? And as you can imagine, or maybe imagine, in a virtual setting, it's pretty expensive. Many of you who do operate charter schools, you have the luxury of having that building, and many cases have that, what I call the big yellow Cadillac. Bring those kids to the school and take those schools back. We have that. We do not have that luxury. Our parents are driving these kids all across the state for days. As you know, state testing is not just one day, it's throughout the year. They're driving to Asheville, Wilmington, Jacksonville, Wilkesboro to bring these kids to the state testing while under that threshold of 95% participation. You can only imagine that that's very challenging. That's very challenging, especially when moms and dads are struggling with gas money and some don't have cars. So as a school, we are reaching out to these families and we're providing resources to get them to the testing site centers. So just wanted to give you that update and paint a picture that the state testing for virtual school, and I hope that as we're providing you these updates, we're able to share the world of virtual education in the state. We certainly commend our staff, we certainly commend our board to devoting their time and certainly resources. As you look at our budget, that's our budget of state testing. It requires, as you can imagine, a lot of travel, a lot of teachers being without their families for weeks, just so we can put children first. Thank you.
Can I chime in with a quick question for the superintendent? Did I hear that right? You have a 93% retention rate with teachers going into the new year?
Yes, there's an intent to return form that all of our staff, including administrators, fill out, and we had a 97% retention rate.
97%.
97% retention rate.
That's really extraordinary, given the issues that have been dealt with and the concerns that have come up with the transition to a new contracting methodology. In the surveys that you do with the teachers, what's kind of the big picture of why do they love teaching with Connections?
A lot of them love that flexibility. They love the enjoyment of getting out and teaching families, as we just heard one student. Teachers also have some of those similar needs. They're coming out of the traditional classroom into this virtual setting. So we ask them in an interview, this requires traveling. Are you okay with traveling? Sure. And of course, they don't understand the magnitude, but they understand that connection with the over 2,000 students. And I do want to pinpoint that number was word of mouth. These are families. We had no advertising. These are families saying, regardless of what's happening through the political process in education since March, we still believe in this virtual education. Sure. So just wanted to make that real clear that these over 2,000, plus we're asking families now. They're ready to enroll now. Right. So we wanted to expand the needs to meet the needs of the families across the state.
So one last question on the enrollment piece, which is an important thing we have to decide on here. With the numbers that you say returning plus what you have on the wait list now, that comes out to right about 2,500. So you already meet that within the cap that you have. Why do you want the additional 20%? And given all the transition and change, wouldn't it be more prudent to just be happy with that 25 and change number?
Yeah, I would certainly be happy and content with that if I didn't hear the needs across the state. There are many families who are looking for this option, and I'm talking to families quite a bit across the state. And as we are advertising, when we start the advertising campaign, my fear is if we can have the space, which we're virtual, we have the space to meet these hundreds of kids that need our school, then why not give them that option? And we do have families that have expressed interest in coming to our school.
So beyond the wait list, because you have a 380 wait list, so so you say there's still quite a bit more that have an interest beyond that.
Yes, yes. So there's families that have expressed interest to us to start that process. Again, this is word of mouth, so there are families contacting us to start that process. What we don't want to do is to turn down any child in the virtual school.
Do you have, I want to ask one question, and then we're really just getting pushed on time. The one question I want to ask is, do you have contracts with your vendors?
That is a great question, and that's going to come from this just if you bear with us for 2 or 3 minutes, there's a transition summary that's going to answer that question.
Okay.
Mr. Walker. Yes.
Yes, to answer your question, we do have contracts with all of our vendors that we are having included for this. We have, I'm going to go through just the summary kind of report, if that's okay, and then I can answer other specific ones about different vendors, if that's okay.
I mean, is it basically, I guess my only real question is, every vendor you told us you were going to contract with, you have a contract with them?
Yes.
Okay, you don't need to go through anything for me. I mean, that
Okay.
was kind of what I was,
Okay.
wanted to know. I mean, I don't really care about the nitty gritty of every contract that you've
Okay.
got. Is that something that you've given to the Office of Charter Schools?
They have not yet.
I think
Yeah, if
we
you
have
could
a
just submit
contract.
that to them and they can send it around to us. But,
Excuse me, Dave, do you have the contracts?
We have not seen the contracts yet. Do we have them?
We can make sure that you
No,
get
we
a
don't.
copy.
In a
Yeah.
point of order, when were they voted on at the meeting? What meeting were they voted on in?
I'd have to look back at our minutes, but, yeah, Donna, let me invite Donna.
Yeah, if you look at the May 31st minutes that's been submitted to you, that's in the packet on the charter amendments, you'll actually see that the board went through and there's motions accepting various contracts. The contracts are not attached there. We can certainly provide those, but May 31st, you'll see that board minutes as well as agenda on those being
Okay,
voted.
yeah, let's
And
get
I'm
those
gonna bring up
contracts.
Donna Rasco,
Well,
who is our
hang on,
attorney who
guys.
handled all of our contracts.
I'm seeing both of the things attached are it's the agenda of the May 31st, because I called in on the May 31st.
So did I. Our vendors were voted on prior to that. But go ahead, Donna. I'm gonna recognize Donna.
I can speak to the contracts. As you can imagine, we've been quite busy reviewing contracts. Different contracts have been reviewed and approved at different points in time. So if you're looking at all of the contracts that reflect the transition, and be more than happy to put them together and get them to the Office of Charter Schools, there are multiple ones, because some folks, you might recall hearing, for example, that the board actually entered into a contract with Simon Crayer, the financial consultant, back last August. That was a part of the work that led to the amendment. And so that contract existed from a long time ago. Most recently, they updated that contract. You'll see that reflected in the May 31 board meeting. There are other contracts, such as Edgenuity, that were voted on prior. The one set of minutes that you have for this meeting are May 31, because we were asked for the minutes of your most recent meeting. But we'd be more than happy to get all the minutes reflecting contract approvals and the resulting contracts.
Yeah, because I don't see the minutes of the May 31st meeting. I see the agenda.
They start on page 8,
They were in the materials. We have an extra copy if you'd like.
that big thing. I mean, so what I'm seeing here is,
They're there?
under transition activities, a motion on insurance, the Simon Crayer contract, the financial services agreement, the MPI website and branding package. Is that what you're talking about?
Yes, sir.
All those things?
Where are you seeing?
Approved
One
hiring.
one-page document is the agenda, and then there's a multi-page document that is the minutes from that agenda.
I guess. I'm sorry, I was on one place.
Okay, did you stream this? Is this, Dave, is this the same meeting that I texted you about?
No, that was actually just that was not an official meeting.
The May 31st, I did call in, and it was closed session.
They're actually, well, I believe if I recall correctly, you called in on May 28th. There was a meeting on May 28th. This has taken, and we anticipate will continue to take a lot of meetings. There was a meeting on the 28th that covered personnel and legal issues regarding a number of those contracts and some
That's
other
right,
legal issues.
right.
And the meeting, actually, the physical location was moved. There was a physical location and a call-in number.
Mm-hmm.
The physical location was moved a few miles because of state testing, as Dr. Curry described to you earlier, and all the test booklets and other materials for state testing that were all over the boardroom. There was one person who wished to attend, and they contacted us, and we waited till they got there
Okay.
and
Y'all
gave them the
stream it,
call-in
like,
number.
live on YouTube or something?
Right now, this one was physical location and a telephone call-in.
Oh, y'all got to start streaming it. Y'all are a virtual school. Come on. Your board
we-
meetings ought to be able to see your faces.
Good suggestion. The 28th, again, was that we went into closed session, we reviewed those matters, and then there was a meeting on the 31st because a couple of those matters were time sensitive, and the board wanted to go ahead and meet. So one of the things they did at the beginning of the meeting on the 28th
Right.
was to notice a special meeting for 48 hours later on the 31st. They met on the 31st, and you have the minutes from the 31st, which was indeed the last meeting they had before the report for today.
Very good.
Okay. All right, let's talk about this amendment request for a minute. Oh, I don't know.
I don't see the need for it.
I guess my thing is there's already a lot of transition going on here and thought it was gonna be difficult for them to be able to do it and to add another 20% students on there. I don't know how good of an idea it is. I mean, sounds like the enrollment's gonna be okay. It's great that they've got the teachers, coming back. I don't know. I don't know about, another 20%.
I really think there's a lot going on already this year. And stable enrollment might really be in their best interest. And this may not be the time to expand in addition to all the other things that are going on.
They can get up to the 2592 already, correct?
And I know we approved it for the other school, but did not, but they
they're not
weren't
doing
going
all
through all the
this.
turmoil of the change and the transition and all that.
I make a motion that we deny this amendment, or we deny.
So we've got a motion to recommend to the state board that this amendment be denied. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. Do we have any further discussion? All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, we have one in opposition, Mr. Fran. Okay. Is Dr. Williams here?
Yes.
There she is. Hiding.
Good morning, everyone. I am
Okay,
going.
I know I'm gonna have to do this.
Okay.
Let's take a 5-minute break. I really hate to do that, but I was looking down and these things are back to back to back until like 12:15, and I don't.
Yeah.
Is that okay? We're gonna take a 5-minute break.
Please.
The first school's calling in at what
I
time?
saw a lot of eyes starting to water.
Okay.
No, we bumped that to the, further agenda.
Okay. Joe, you're squinting there. You need
Yeah,
your
my
readers.
eyes, I need
Oh
my
my
reading
gosh.
glasses.
Mina.
How are you? Guys are school right now, right? Summer break for your kids?
No, school's not out till
No,
next
school's not
Friday.
out till
For us
next
till next Friday.
Okay.
The district got out to,
Your kids during the summer?
run a 2-week intercession other than that. Our summer's really short because of 5-year rounds. The whole summer's only 5 weeks long.
Oh, cool.
And two of them intercession.
Wow, so that works pretty well.
Hey, I just want to make sure I got your name right.
Made it work.
Joe?
We made it work.
A-I-M-O-N-E?
Yes, sir.
Are you a member of the board? You said you were a non-voting member?
Yeah, I'm the superintendent's
It's 5 days.
selection for the board, but it's a non-voting position currently.
Okay, got you.
We tested K-8 all last week. High school, all the.
And this young lady here, her name is?
Sherry Reeves. This one, oh, Linda Lynn
Bye, and
Kakadelis.
then we start the whole process all over again.
Is she like an officer on the board
1600,
or?
we had 17.
She is the chair of the performance committee. So we have the board chair and we have 2 committee chairs.
Never said I could.
Hey, as a favor, you know, if I'm in my
Well,
office,
we are at our high schools already.
we don't know who's talking because you guys don't give your name
Oh.
before you
Right.
speak.
Right.
Get started.
And I know it's hard to, once you get engaged in conversation, it's hard to do, but if you can maybe ask.
I think that's a good point. Yeah, we'll make
Because
sure
even
they
back there,
remind.
I didn't know who was,
Sure.
who's who. I haven't been doing this long enough to know you guys.
That's a good point. I mentioned that to Ashley so she can mention that to the group.
Okay, thank you.
Schools. See the schools now.
Just send it back and that's it, end of it. Thank you.
Stephen Hart.
Did you see the nice things this guy wrote about me? You should see this. I mean, my hair, I couldn't even.
Yep, makes sense.
may have to, I need to go get some.
Be long.
Don't have them cold drinks in there, did they? You bring your own. I gotta have some.
Okay?
Okay.
All right, let's get started back. Dr. Williams, I'm sorry for bringing you all the way up to the podium and then having you sit right back down. But,
okay.
I was getting some daggers shot at me, so
You had to keep her awake.
that's right. So if you'll go ahead and give us an introduction and then move on. Most of these will be on the phone, so.
All right, well, good morning, everyone. I will take you through a bit of foundational information before you have the opportunity to talk with school leaders directly, either on the phone or here in person. The first thing I'd like to do is draw your attention to the guidelines for CSAB RTO decision-making. This is a guideline document that you created 3 years ago. And since then, these are the guidelines that we have been using at this time of year to determine who has to appear before you at your June CSAB meeting. So you see that we had an expectation of 75% of projected enrollment by June 1st, and we had all of the schools to provide their enrollment summary with their RTO evidences on May 24th, and then provide a revised summary or updated summary on June 3rd. So the information that you see on the enrollment summary is as of June 3rd, and I will go through that with you in a moment. For the facility, you see that there's an expectation that they have the CO 30 days before opening and a comprehensive contingency plan 60 days before opening, that they have a valid break-even budget, and you will see on the enrollment summary that the break-even number for each of the schools is reported. And then finally, you will see that the last item for which schools are held accountable are all of the items that are on the ready-to-open evidence checklist. And so they are expected to not receive an insufficient rating in any of the categories. And so they may be called before you today because they have received an insufficient rating in one or more areas. Are there any questions about those guidelines?
I don't think I do. Well, the reception's not that great, but I believe, no, I don't. I think I'm prepared whenever you have any questions you might ask.
Oh, we weren't talking to you yet. It's okay though.
Okay, all right.
I know it's probably hard to hear. I don't know how we fix that, but
Okay,
you can hear me okay though, I'm sure.
I can hear you fine. It's just,
Okay.
Dr. Williams is a little sketchy out there.
Okay. All right, so just one procedural question. Are we gonna need to make any votes on this, or is this just where we talk to them, we actually make the votes in July?
No, you will make your recommendation today, and it will go to the state board at its July meeting for a final vote.
Okay. All right.
You may recall that at your May meeting, you did a preliminary vote on all 14 of these schools, and you preliminarily recommended them to the state board, and so they reviewed your preliminary recommendation at their June meeting. Okay. So you have two hard copy documents. One is on long paper, that's the enrollment summary, and the other is on 8.5 by 11, and that is the RTO progress report. So I'd like for a moment just to direct your attention to the enrollment summary. This is a document that's familiar to you. You've already seen an enrollment summary from March and April. This is a combination of May and June. The difference between the two that you've already seen is that the March and April enrollment summaries provided for you a count of the number of applications that each school had received as of that point in time. This report no longer asks for the number of applications. Instead, the schools are asked for the number of actual enrollments, meaning the number of students who have completed the enrollment process for their schools as of this time. You'll see in the last column before the notes, the break-even number that each school has calculated to determine that that is the minimum number of students that they need to enroll in order to make sure that they remain financially solvent. 9 schools out of the 14 that are slated to open in August were below the 75% enrollment expectation as of June 3rd, and 4 of those 9 are currently serving a 1-year delay. You recall that you also recommended and the state board approved 3 schools for acceleration. 1 of those 3 schools is also below the 75% that is expected. The next enrollment report is due on July 8th from the schools, and it will also include a facility update and will be provided to you shortly thereafter. Are there any questions about the enrollment summary? Okay. The other paper handout that you have is the RTO progress report. And this basically summarizes provides for you the first day of school for each school, the status of their certificate of occupancy and facility and inspection completion, the status of their facility contingency plan, and any areas in which they were rated insufficient on the RTO progress report. 11 of the 14 schools had at least one issue that rose to the level of needing to be brought to your attention today, based on your agreed-upon guidelines for RTO decision-making. For each of the 11, you have a digital copy of their OCS evaluation. In addition, you have a blank digital copy of the RTO evidence checklist that was due from each school on May 24th. 4 schools were rated insufficient for their progress on the National School Lunch Program. Jacqueline McGowan can answer questions related to those schools when we get to them. Jacqueline is the compliance officer with the School Nutrition Services section. Lastly, you asked for revised budgets for all of the schools that did not meet the 75% minimum threshold, and those budgets are on eBoard as well, and they reflect the number of enrollments that each school had as of June 3rd. When we are done, and you can choose to either do this all at the end or school by school as you are interviewing them, I will ask from you for a motion to recommend to the state board that the school either continues its progress towards opening with stipulations, or delays its opening. Are there any questions about the RTO progress report? Okay. The first school then, that's on the phone, as we've already heard, is Apprentice Academy High School of North Carolina. They are on your agenda today because of their enrollment and because of their lunch program. They are not planning to participate in the National School Lunch Program, and that, of course, is fine. The issue is that they don't have a plan. So that is why they were rated insufficient for lunch.
All right, sir, we got you on here. Now go ahead and, for the minutes here, if you'll tell us who you are from Apprentice Academy High School and your position on the board, and then we'll get started.
My name is James Warner, and I am the board chairman.
Okay, thank you very much. The first question I think we'll have is about enrollment. Looks like you're at currently at about 73% of capacity there. How do you expect to get that, or have you already reached the 75%?
We're very close. We're within, I think it's 5 or 6 students of the 75%. And we have gained a couple just this week. But on the other hand, we do have planned marketing this summer. We are going to be in the July 4th parade in Indian Trail. We have social media. We have a firm that's working on social media to put together our monthly papers, events, things like that. So we're still continuing to recruit, and we're working on it every day.
Okay, and then the other question is, tell us a little bit about why you don't have a lunch plan.
Well, being Apprentice Academy, one of our instructors is a culinary specialist. He has a very long resume, and our plans are to use him to prepare bag lunches for the lunch program students. I think our principal just gave me the statistics. I think we're at 35% will require, I just wrote that down this morning. We'll be on the school lunch program, and we should have that budgeted to prepare that for them in our regular budget.
Okay, anybody else have any questions?
A few concerns about the bag lunch thing.
Sure, if you'll talk into the microphone, hopefully they'll be able to hear you. Cheryl Turner's going to ask you a couple questions here.
Okay.
So this bag lunch thing that you're planning to do, is that going to be highly identifiable? One of the things about the school lunch program is that the children should not be highly identifiable. And so if the only kids who are eating these bag lunches, like, you might as well just put a sign on them.
You're going to have to repeat that. I did not understand it.
It was kind of a question and a comment. She said, part of the thing was that the students would be non-identifiable. And it sounds like that if the only kids that are going to be eating these bag lunches are those, you might as well put a sticker on them to say these are the low-income students.
Yes. I'm not sure how we address that. That's a very good question. And I believe that, our culinary teacher will be and make available for a price the ones that are not in the program. We haven't figured that out completely, so we have an agreement to do that.
As long as anybody can buy the lunches, then that's fine. If the only people who get the lunches are the free reduced, that's a problem.
I think the suggestion she's giving is that if anybody can buy the lunches, then it's not an issue. But if the only people that can get them are the free and reduced population, then that's when it becomes the issue.
Okay.
So I think that's something for y'all to consider going forward.
We will discuss that at the next board meeting.
All right, Ms. Reeves?
I think the plan needs to be fleshed out, because you're talking, plan definitely needs fleshing out, because you're speaking of one person who's also an instructor now providing lunch for potentially 375 students.
Yeah, I think as y'all go forward with this, you need to really work on your lunch plan. And what Sherry Reeves just pointed out, if you couldn't hear, is that, that you've got one instructor basically gonna do lunches for possibly 375 students. So I think it's something y'all need to just work through as a board.
It is a very large number, and however, I do have confidence in the fellow here. I mean, he has a very large resume and some very first-class restaurants. So, and he does have the health department accreditations and all the other type of things that will be required.
Okay. Well, I think y'all need to make sure that Dr. Williams is happy with this lunch plan.
The school's already in a year delay. This is very concerning to me.
Try to get this worked
Does this
out.
teacher teach? Or is he just doing, is he, like, I'm confused? Yeah, that ain't gonna work.
I mean, I think we let them go forward. I mean, the enrollment's there, but I think they've got to get this lunch plan worked out pretty quickly. I mean, I think if we have to make a decision, I'm not going to say, well, you're going to have trouble doing your lunch plan this way, to say that we're going to stop you in your tracks now. But I think they've got to get they got to get the details ironed out on this thing.
I don't know if I missed it. What percentage of staff is hired at this point?
What percentage of your staff is hired?
We have our full staff right now. Well, we had one loss, and we have to approve an application next week for one that a gain and a loss. So we're at 100% of staff.
And what number is that? How many?
12.
12.
Thank you.
It's 1 to 25 for 300 students at this point. We may need to add a few if we go over 300.
Sounds good.
Can we ask for them to submit a lunch program to our office for approval before the July State Board of Ed meeting?
Yeah, let's go ahead, since we've been about 10 minutes on this school. I will move that we recommend to the state board that this school continues into the Ready Open, and also as part of that motion that Apprentice Academy High School provide a written lunch plan to the Office of Charter Schools prior to the July meeting of the State Board of Education. So that's a
Second.
motion. We have a second. We have any discussion or debate? And all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. The ayes have it, and thank you very much, sir.
You're welcome. Have a great day.
All right, we'll move on to Blue Green Academy, and Cheryl Turner is recused in this one, so nobody asked Cheryl any questions on that one, and so we'll go ahead and get started on that. And I understand we have somebody on the phone and in person.
Yes.
Okay, who do we have on the phone from Blue Green?
Cheryl Ragland, board chair.
Okay. And so, Dr. Williams, you give a quick little update for us, and then we'll hear from the people in the room as well to make sure we get them in the minutes.
Okay. The Blue Green Academy is appearing before you today, also for their enrollment and for their lunch program. They are planning to participate in the National School Lunch Program, and according to staff from School Nutrition Services here at DPI, they have made insufficient progress to date towards beginning the school year with that plan established.
Okay, my understanding, first on, there's an amendment request pending at the state board, right? Is that not right?
No, they were planning to submit an amendment request. They have not yet submitted that request. So I guess they will talk to you about whether or not they are actually going to submit it at this point.
Dr. Williams, are we supposed to look at this with the projected enrollment of 200 and they're at 50%?
Yes.
Okay. All right, who do we have with us?
My name is Day Brake, and I currently serve as the board chair, but I'll be the principal come July 1st, and so we have Cheryl Ragland on the line, who will fill that role of board chair. We also have Dina Artis-DeShazer, who is currently serving as the vice chair, and she will also serve as principal, co-principal of the school, so Antonio McCoy will then replace her role.
Okay, why do we have that you're thinking about submitting amendment request. Are you gonna submit an amendment request?
No, we are not. We actually met as a board and decided that that probably would not be necessary at this point, because on June the 5th, last Wednesday, we were on the local news station, and as a result of that, we received over 60 applications in just 2 days. And so we wanted to make sure that we were able to accommodate those families, and we're gonna keep it at the 200.
So what's your current number then?
For enrollments, we're at 102, and for applications, we have 173 applications. So we need 27 more applications.
To be at 200.
Yes. And we also have, we'll be.
Please enter your PIN followed by the pound or hash.
Break even.
If you do not know your PIN, please enter pound or hash.
What are you talking
I
about?
don't know what that's about.
We may have to disconnect it and reconnect it here in a second, but,
Thank you.
don't you get smart with me. Can you still hear us on the phone?
Yes.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
Okay. All right, so, I mean, how long do you think it's gonna take for those applications to be enrolled?
Well, based on our enrollment policy, we were giving families 45 days, and then we realized that that's way too much time. So we were looking to change our policy and give them about a week to get those in. So by the end of June, we expect to have those applications enrolled.
So then that puts you at 173, which is over 75%, right?
Yes.
Because 150 is 75%. Have you given any evidence of those applications to the Office of Charter Schools?
As far as like a spreadsheet type of thing, or?
Something, just something so that they've got it.
To date, no, we have not, but we can definitely provide that.
I mean, I just want to cover our basis, because based on that, you know, I don't think you need a 1-year delay anymore if you can get the lunch stuff worked out. But if it was still 102, I was thinking we were going to have some problems, so.
Right, and we have
So-
people,
Do they have a
I'm
break
sorry,
even?
we have volunteers calling daily to follow up on those applications and to confirm them. So we would definitely be able to provide something to the Office of Charter Schools.
So one radio show brought in that many applications. What are you doing marketing wise? I mean, do you have marketing plans for the summer?
Yes, and that wasn't one radio show. That was us being on the local news station, WXII. And we have already done radio shows. We've also done Facebook ads. We've also had family engagement, enrollment fairs that we've advertised daily to get our enrollment and keep our currently enrolled students engaged. So I think it was just that the local news station has a little bit more clout than maybe some smaller radio stations and things of that sort. So when they actually saw us on TV and they actually saw our building, and I think that made a difference because we had finally solidified a facility and it was broadcast on that news station. So by it being broadcast on that news station and they did a walkthrough and showed different things, you know, people really got excited. And at that point we were looking at that 135, 140 number. And so we also put an urgency on it and said we had about 30 applications that needed to be in, and we got swarmed with 68 applications.
So two quick things. I don't see a facility update on here. Did I miss that? So you're good on facility? Everything's good there, numbers wise, to accommodate?
Yes, numbers wise, to accommodate this facility is over 72,000 square feet. We are in the process, we're working with an architect to get our CO. The only thing that the city came back with is that we need carbon monoxide, because the building, when it was built, it didn't require that in the fire alarm. So we have to get those things within
What
the next couple
percentage
of
of staff is hired and how many is that?
So we are about, it was 75% when we submitted because we were basing it off of the 135. So we're at about 60%. But we have our final round of interviews happening this Saturday with our interactive interview. total staff. If we stick with when we stick with the 200, that'll be about 10 teachers.
And we have identified 6 of them.
Tell us about the lunch plan. Why are we so far behind?
Yes, so we were not aware, honestly, of the timeline in order to get those documentations in. So what we've done is adjusted our budget, and I can send that to Keebler to share with you, so that we are now incorporating paying for all lunches for the first 75 days, because it's our understanding that we will be able to receive that National School Lunch Plan funding come October. So with that, we've added to our budget to pay for those lunches the first 75 days. And then with that, we will then look into the reimbursement in October.
It's gonna pay for everybody's lunch.
We are going to take applications for lunch, so anyone who qualifies for free and reduced lunch, we will pay for them.
Any other questions?
Okay, yeah, so that clarified, because when you said pay for lunches, I thought you were saying the whole.
Everybody's.
Pay for all of them, don't you, Joe?
What?
Only
No,
for those that
your
qualify.
budget's shot already.
Okay, well,
Get that lunch.
on
lunch
the,
program in.
But that still means
Yeah.
I gotta get that plan.
Get your plan in.
Yes, we absolutely will. The paperwork has already been started. We just need to submit it at this point.
so I would say then, I would move that the school continue on the ready to open process with the understanding that they're gonna enroll these students with these applications that they've just got and get above that 75%, and that they will have their lunch plan worked out before the state board's July meeting. So that's my motion. Do we have a second?
Stipulation is they have to submit that also.
Right, same thing.
I'll second.
Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? All right, the ayes have it, and Cheryl Turner was recused on that one.
Right, quick question, the state board meeting, is it gonna, since the 4th falls on Thursday, when is the state board meeting? They're doing a
It's the-
conference call,
It's the week after? Yeah.
July
11th?
11th.
July 11th, okay.
But
Right, and if they have a called meeting in between then they're gonna take up a lot of these
Oh, okay.
items.
So we're telling them. Got it done by the. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you on the phone.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right, next we've got Bonnie Cone Classical Academy.
Yes, and Bonnie Cone is appearing before you today in person, or not Bonnie Cone, but school leadership from Bonnie Cone Classical Academy are appearing before you today in person to talk about their enrollment, their facility, and their tax exempt status. Tax exempt status because they were scheduled to have that status approved by June 1st, 2019. Is that someone joining? Because they were approved by the state board on June 1st, 2017, and they provided in their RTO evidences only an application for tax exempt status. Enrollment, you see on the enrollment summary, and then the issue with the facility is that their permanent facility, which they are, which is in construction right now, will not be ready until December. And as of the time of this report, they did not have a contingency plan in which to open school. But
Christine Branco?
it may be at this point, because they were waiting on a vote to happen yesterday, it may be at this point that they are able to report to you a contingency plan and a facility in which to open their school.
Somebody talk to us.
I'm Marty McCarthy, Chairman of the Board. Questions?
Yeah, just, well, I mean, the first thing, tell us about the tax exempt status. Have you submitted
Tell us about it, excuse me.
the tax exempt status, have you submitted it to the IRS,
Yes.
the 1023?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, it was submitted on September the 25th, 2018.
You should be getting it any day now then. I mean, that's about normal, about 5 to 6 months.
That's our expectation.
It took 18 months?
Took 18 months.
Wow.
Good grief.
So it takes a while. Okay. I mean, y'all are.
Building.
Yeah, the enrollment's just is rough. What's going on with that?
So enrollment is picking up. I would say that the challenge is with the building not being there that people see. There's a little bit of a challenge. In the last 90 days, we've received 230 applications. We have a total of 423. 37 of those came in the last 9 days. Out of that, we're turning those over into enrollment packets. We only have 66 who have declined, so we're following up with email, phone call, and that status. You know, it's just a matter of following up with each one of those individuals and getting those full enrollment packets in.
So can you tell us about the contingency plan for the facility? Because that will definitely impact the enrollments.
We are meeting with First Baptist Church in Huntersville. We have met with the deacons. The deacons are unanimous in their desire to house the school on a temporary basis.
Willie?
They have very adequate.
Owen?
They have very adequate facility to handle the school. We're going through the regulatory process with Department of Transportation, county, and town, and all that is looking very positive.
When you say adequate, is it adequate to serve the 450 students?
In the first building that they have, we can put 300 students in it. They have a second building that we can use. It should our enrollment reach max at 450. And so our board of directors agreed to the terms of the lease at our June 5th meeting. And so we're moving forward in that process.
But you still have got to go through all the transportation, all those okaying this.
Right, so we've met with the town of Huntersville, and the town of Huntersville says this does not require us to go before the planning committee. It just requires staff review. And then we're also working concurrently with DOT to look at the traffic impact in Huntersville.
Wow.
Is this church already approved for an educational occupancy?
No, it is approved for church occupancy. They do have a building called their Discipleship Center that they have classroom space in. It is all up to code in terms of sprinklers and all of the requirements that a school would need. And the town did not see any issue with converting that over in a very short process to a temporary permit for educational use.
How closely are you working with DOT? That can really cause a lot of problems and timelines, just out of lots of experience.
I'm going to ask Mr. Greg Sinders to step to the mic. He's with our charter management organization, and he can speak to that.
Yeah, we've had discussions with the town of Huntersville, Mecklenburg County, and DOT. Our traffic engineer is Rainey Kemp, and they've had discussions and have had success in the past on temporary certificates of occupancy for educational use, not completing a full TIA. Our anticipation in working with our architect and engineers and developer is to have a certificate of occupancy by July 25th. So.
Are y'all, this would be a good question for you, Mr. Sanders, as well. Is, if there's an enrollment shortfall, what's the plan as far as the CMO is concerned?
Well, we submitted a budget to reflect the enrollment on June 3rd at 171. And obviously, our CMO fee of 143,000, even in that budget, is subordinate to everything else. We're the first one in and the last one to get paid. And so naturally, you know, in working with our developer and ourselves, you know, we're going to have to make concessions. We also do have approval for over $600,000 in loans to purchase furniture, technology, and curriculum.
This one gives me heartburn.
Well, here's my, we're in a year delay.
Kathleen Prevo.
Construction is not gonna be complete until December. How does a temporary facility impact transportation plan, lunch plan? How are these things gonna be different in a temporary facility versus permanent facility?
Can I speak to that for you? So in terms of transportation, we have purchased a bus. It was not purchased by the date that we submitted the report, but we did purchase a bus last week, actually 2 buses. So we do have bus service, so where our cluster bus stops would be, may change slightly, and one of them will be very close to the permanent facility to assist families in getting to the school. So transportation plan is laid out in that respect. In terms of the stacking on the premises, we have plenty of room within, on the premises for stacking. We don't think that impact is going to be significant on the traffic in Huntersville. In terms of lunch, our lunch program was to go with a vendor where we have just signed a contract the week after our report was due. Just signed a contract with myhotlunchbox.com, and so they will deliver to the facility, and they will change that delivery to the new facility when we're into that one. So children can either brown bag or they can bring a lunch. The church facility does have a cafeteria that we can use if we need to use that. They also have a gymnasium that we can use, and so it really does meet the needs of the school within the facility that they have.
How far is the church from your permanent?
4.7 miles. So.
Any other questions? All right, any other discussion?
Quick question, what is your new break-even number? Or do you have a new break-even?
It's 400.
171 was the break-even number, the budget that we submitted on June 3rd.
So you can break even with the enrollments you have right now.
Yes, sir, we can.
Stephen, I have concerns with this 38% capacity.
So you're still aiming for the 450? You haven't made an amendment to lower that?
We have not made an amendment to lower that. We are still shooting for the 450. We're at 197, which is a little over 44% today.
And when will your school open?
August 26th.
My birthday.
I think we need to rethink the 450.
Yeah, I mean, I guess, you know, the issues that come up with it, if your enrollment's low, you've got budget problems. You've submitted a budget. The other issue that you have is what you're getting paid on. Right. In that first allotment, and that's where we've seen issues before with schools that are low enrolled. I mean, you're over the 80 that's required, so that's not a problem. You've submitted a budget, and so if your budget looks like it'll work with a break even of 171, then anything you've got over that's kind of gravy. The problem is getting paid for 450 in the first time. You run the very real risk of almost getting all your state funds in your first allotment, and that causes some budgeting issue down the road unless you can show great discipline, which we've had a lot of schools not been able to. Now, I would say that partnering with CFA, they're very experienced in dealing with these things, and they've had some smaller schools as well. So, you know, that's a plus side of it. I mean, I hate to say go down 450 and then you end up over the summer getting a bunch of applications. But then I hate to say, too, that get paid on 450 and have some problems.
Could we do something about next board meeting if they're not?
The ADM is July 1.
Yeah, the ADM is July 1.
By the time that we meet again, the that money will be on its way out the door. I guess I kind of feel like this is a train that is so far out the gate, there's really not, I mean, it has to go where it goes. They already have started building a facility, it's already a year delay, so you can't delay it again. I think we just ride this train and see where it goes.
I think you're right.
And I agree with that. I think the plus of this is you've got a experienced EMO with you. CMO, I'm sorry, CMO. And
EMOs would have charged a lot more than $140,000.
So. Can you make the motion? Okay. I move that we move Bonnie Cone Classical Academy on to the ready open.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed, no.
Aye.
Is that you, Alex?
It must be on there.
Alex, are you on the phone? All right, if you're not on the advisory board, you can't vote.
Whoever it is.
Somebody voted with us.
We
Oh my
appreciate
goodness.
you. Some fail.
So I don't think that was Alex, so do not count that vote, but it was unanimous.
Okay.
I don't know how I like this phone thing.
I don't like it.
All right, let's move on. Carolina Charter Academy.
Carolina Charter Academy is appearing before you today for their facility liability insurance and originally for their tax exempt status as well. However, they were able to provide documentation on Saturday that they have been tax exempt status. The issue with the facility is that when the state board approved their delay request, there was a stipulation that they must receive their certificate of occupancy, must provide their certificate of occupancy to the Office of Charter Schools by July 1st. Right now, they are scheduled to receive their certificate of occupancy on July 12th. The issue with the liability insurance is that they were not, did not provide a certificate of liability insurance, only a.
Your input is invalid.
No, it's not.
All right, so
Dr.
question
Williams.
number one, where's the liability insurance certificate?
It is, I could send it to you as soon as we're done. It went
Give it to her.
Well, can I
We're
send it
good.
to you as soon as we're done? I'm
Yes.
really bad at doing two things at once. I'll send it to you. It was just paid. It went to our treasurer's spam. And so we have it, and he just paid it as we were driving here. So that's paid, and we can get that to you.
All right, so tell us a little bit about the facility then.
Is Don on this?
I don't know. Dawn, are you on the phone call? Or Julie?
Dawn or Julie, are you on the phone?
Okay, the school is I'm Mark Stackbeck, I'm the.
Yes,
Go ahead, Julie.
Julie, is that you? This is the
I
last time
can
we're.
barely hear you.
Can you hear me?
Barely.
Can you hear
Hear
me?
me.
Okay, so here's what I'm going to ask you to do. We just want to know what's going on with the facility.
The facility is under construction, of course. We've been working with the builder to bring in TCO on July 12th. There have been some setbacks with the weather early on, and they've been working to make up time as best they can. I understand we had another rain event, which is still now affecting the site work.
I mean, you think this is something that's going to be done in July?
Yes, I think we will get TCO in July.
And when does school start?
August 24th? 26th.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much. Anybody else have any questions?
So it looks like two things have been rectified, the insurance and the tax exempt status.
Right, that's taken care of.
So basically with the
They're good. They're good to go.
Facility.
Yeah, I mean, I think the facility issue is, I mean, of course, we always want the educational certificate of occupancy by July 1. Anybody ever got theirs on time? I don't hear anybody saying yes. I mean, that's just the way that these things go. So
I will say they were delayed by, I think, 15 days because of the weather earlier. It is under roof. The drywall is installed. Actually, I think the drywall is done now inside. It's just now getting the site work on the lanes, which that plenty of time for that to be finished.
Okay. Mr. Friend, did you have a question?
Yeah, I failed to mention I needed to recuse myself from this one. I recused from earlier votes on this school as well.
So Bruce Friend's going to be recused on this one. Well, I move that we move Carolina Charter Academy on through the ready to open process.
I second it.
All right, we got a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, the ayes have it. That's unanimous with Mr. Friend recusing. So we'll move on to Monroe Charter Academy now.
Hi, this is Carmelina Brockman, the board chair of Monroe Charter Academy, present.
Thank you.
All right, Monroe is on the phone or participating in the meeting with you today because of their enrollment.
Okay. Can you say one more time who we've got on the phone from Monroe?
Carmelina Brockman, board chair.
Okay, thank you. Can you?
We have more people on the phone, sir. I'm sorry.
Okay, well, we'll talk with the board chair, and if somebody else needs to chime in, then they can tell us who they are as well. But the main issue that we've got here is the enrollment. It looks like you're at currently at 42% of your maximum. And so what's the plan to get up? Are you planning on an amendment for enrollment, or are you planning to go forward with what you've got?
Well, with our proposed amendment at 144 students, we would be at 85% of our enrollment.
Okay, have you submitted an amendment request?
We did.
And they submitted an amended budget.
And did you submit an amended budget with that?
We did.
Okay, what's the status of that amendment request?
I received the final piece of information this weekend, so it will be prepared for July.
Okay.
According to Ashley's notes, I'll go before the state board until September.
Wow.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Which means the money will already be paid out on it.
Yep.
Actually, Mr. Walker, we intend to contact Financial Business Services and all these decreased CSADMs and see if they can adjust their funding so we don't run into that problem. I haven't had that conversation yet with FBS, but we intend to do that.
Okay, so 144 is what you're asking for?
Yes, sir.
Okay, does anybody else have any questions?
Why did it take them so long to
Yeah.
submit the amendment request?
Why did it take you so long to submit the amendment request?
Well, we had our board meeting to discuss it. The amendment request was done immediately following our board vote on it. We had some plans to have enrollment days and all this stuff, and we did have a delay in opening, and we had renovations going on, and so there were a tremendous amount of decisions that we had to make, and one of those tough decisions was to reduce our enrollment numbers just to be fiscally responsible, as well as meeting our intention to have a balanced school economically and otherwise. So we had to make that tough decision while we were still enrolling, not knowing if we were going to meet those numbers by the end of the summer. So that was we did it as quickly as what I'm saying is we did it as quickly as we could have with the information we were getting at the time. I know Anthony Rodriguez from Goodall Consulting can also give you a little more background on that. Yeah, because he's submitting the application for us. Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, hey, yes. Hi, Anthony Rodriguez. I work with the school. The amount of applications that we were getting in, and then we were seeing a lot of declines or parents that were waiting over the 30. I think we had a 30-day period where they had to confirm their spot and get at least their enrollment papers in. So by the end of, I think we're looking into late March, early April, we started to see that we had a lot of parents that were just sitting on these applications, and then they're through the service that we're using, WaterEase, would boot them off the system or expire or withdraw their application after those 30 days. And we felt that that was probably not the best approach, because once those parents got booted off, we never really saw them again, or if we contacted them, they said, no, it said that my application expired, and we kind of lost those people. So we then changed it to where they would just be put at the bottom of the wait list and then contacted by us to make sure that they make a decision one way or another. And that's when we saw enrollment pick up a little bit more with that follow-through and with moving them to the bottom of the wait list instead of moving them or completely withdrawing their application. So I think we only had like a 57 or 58% acceptance rate to the school of where they would actually enroll their child upon application. So,
I mean, maybe the best thing to do would be to move them forward and put a stipulation that the first year ADM is 144. Then Mr. Goodall?
Could I add something? First of all, condolences to the board for your loss in Alan Hawks, who was a great friend also of the rest of us.
Ridgeview Charter School.
Just to make this a little clearer, we had, around the first of the year, we engaged with a contractor, a local contractor out of Durham, to upfit our building. We were in a church. We had gone through about six buildings before we got to the right one. And he has signed a contract. He has put about $200,000 of his money into the church. One of the bright spots, I guess, about looking at going back to 144, we were able, as soon as we realized we had that money and he gave us a $50,000 loan with it, as soon as he did that, we were able to took a little bit of the pressure off of us from a standpoint of operations. It'll actually add a year that we can stay at that church and save a lot of money. So, you know, I'd rather have done 288, but our board is really comfortable with 144. Again, we're 85% there now. But everything else looks really good for our school. So I'm glad we delayed a year, and I'm glad we cut back to 144 as a consultant to them.
All right, well, I will move that we move Monroe Charter Academy forward on the Ready to Open process with the stipulation that the first year enrollment be 144.
I second that.
Got a motion and a second. That should take care of the amendment request as well, I would think. So, see, I just cut your work down, Ashley. We got a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All right, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Somebody vote.
Alex, are you on the phone? All right, if I find out who's voting, we're gonna. Oh yeah, this will be the last time we do this with phone people in. Not working well. Okay, let's move on to Pocosin.
So, Pocosin Innovative Charter will be
We're here.
will be on the phone today. They have been selected to participate in the meeting today for a number of reasons, including their enrollment, their liability insurance. Again, they did not submit anything related to insurance. Their personnel, they have, as of the time of submitting their RTO evidences, they had only hired their principal, and they had just hired him 3 days prior. And their only plan for hiring staff was that the principal will take care of it. The transportation plan is in a similar situation. They don't really have one. And according to staff from School Nutrition Services here at DPI, they have made insufficient progress towards starting the school year within the National School Lunch Program.
All right, we got a lot to cover here. I think enrollment's probably the least of the worries, looking at it. Let's talk a little bit about your, let's take the easy one off first. Do you have the liability insurance certificate?
It is in the process. It will be effective as of July the 1st.
Okay, so have you paid the premiums?
For the liability insurance,
Yes.
it is not due until July. So it has not literally coming out of our funding yet.
Okay, so all you have is a quote so far.
Yes, and we signed signatures as far as the contract, but we have not paid them. The insurance people of North Carolina will be providing all of that.
Okay, have you got any teachers hired yet?
We only got access to our NC teacher account Thursday of last week. We had waited 2.5 months on VTI. And so by the end of today, we will have all positions posted. We have K-5 and already have 6 applicants just from Thursday it being posted.
And how many teachers do you need to hire in total?
8.
And what's going on with the transportation plan?
Christy Condon. For the transportation plan also, we have posted on the NCDPI. We have those positions posted, but we have several already interested in talking to them now that they can officially apply online.
I mean, what your transportation plan that you're working on through the Ready to Open process?
Okay, so we'll be doing carpooling. We will have 2 buses that will have bus depots, as well as the carpool, but all students will be available for one of those methods. And then as part of our processes, we'll have mapping that will be distributed to all of the students on our website, as well as to them during our open house process.
Okay, and so do you already have the buses?
We are in negotiations with National Bus Sales. And we'll only have 2 buses.
I mean, you gotta get somebody trained, licensed. I mean, that's.
I'm sorry, we didn't hear that.
Well, there's just discussion going on about how difficult it's going to be to get all this done, especially the transportation plan. You got to have somebody trained, ready to go. I mean, you're kind of far behind where we're looking at. What about the lunch program?
We actually have, going back to the transportation, we have partnership with Alliance Education Services, so they are actually doing part of that in conjunction with us. And we already have bus drivers that are stepping up that are inquiring about that, so I don't feel like that will be an issue.
Could they provide an MOU to us quickly?
Yeah, how quickly can you get a memorandum of understanding to us?
By the end of this week.
Okay.
I mean, I could probably do it by tomorrow, but if you need it sooner, we will make it happen.
Needed it yesterday.
Yeah, yesterday would have been good.
Is this the school that?
This is an
It's
accelerated
accelerated.
opening.
That we accelerated.
We allowed
It's the
it,
one that,
sorry.
where the other schools were closing around them. Is that
Right.
the right one?
It was supposed to be, the facility was in a school, and it looks like
Old
they're looking
school,
at
right?
monitors now.
I mean, this is one of the, concerns that you have with acceleration. The biggest concern everybody seemed to have was enrollment. Enrollment's not, enrollment is at 69%. I mean, it's not bad, all things considered. But some of the things that you would have had a year to do, such as, getting all your liability insurance worked out, getting your personnel hired, getting your transportation plan and your lunch plan and all that. I think that's what makes it a little bit more difficult.
Does the facility change, Stephen?
What's that?
As far as the lunch plan is concerned, we have already reached out to Washington County schools. Unfortunately, they have not been able to get back with us as of this point, but we have spoken to a neighboring county, which is Carroll County Schools, and they were willing to work with us. And we did submit an email to DPI regarding that lunch service policy, and they replied back with the indication of a different person that we actually needed to contact. And we have worked with her within other schools before, and information has went out to her today.
There's when? Oh, God.
Ask her about the facility.
So you're changing your facility to modulars now?
No, sir.
So where's your facility gonna be? Oh, that's the contingency plan is modulars.
Our facility
That's
is at the old elementary school in Cresswell on 500 First Street.
Oh, no, school.
Did
So
they
facility,
get-
the facility is ready.
Facility's okay.
It was
Did they get their CO? Did they get
supposed to
the
be
CO
Friday. Did the
Did they get
CFO
the CO on Friday?
Did you get the CO on Friday?
No, we did not. We are waiting on, the only, there had to be an upgrade to the fire alarm. It's already scheduled, but they're, waiting on a required part, and it should arrive in a few days, and the building inspector said he'd give us a final CO, after that's done, so it's imminent.
Every major piece of this is in process. We're talking to.
It is in the process, yes.
This school's not ready.
What's supposed to be their first day of?
First day
opening?
of school.
When's your first day of school?
August 26th.
Okay. I think this one's gonna require a little bit more, discussion. Is there, does anybody object to just putting Pocosin on hold for a minute, going through the rest of these and then coming back to Pocosin?
There's not anybody here in the room.
No, they're all
All by phone.
They're all by phone, but let's, because I think we're gonna need another 10, 15 minutes to talk about this one. So let's do that. We're gonna displace Pocosin for just a minute. Let's go on to Ridgeview.
Okay.
All right, Ridgeview Charter School is on the phone today, and they are required to participate in today's meeting because of their enrollment, their liability insurance, their transportation plan, and their lunch program. Same issue as the others with the liability insurance, only a quote provided, no real plan for transportation, and according
This is
to,
Shakira Barnes.
and according to School Nutrition Services here at DPI, they have made insufficient progress towards opening school with the National School Lunch Program.
All right, Ridgeview, we've got some issues here. We see the enrollment, again, is not that big of an issue. We're at 70%.
Close, yeah.
So you're close on that. But let's talk a little bit about, have you got your liability insurance taken care of?
Yes, sir. We have signed with Van Popering Insurance, and under his advice, we did not add on all the workman's comp because he felt it wasn't necessary at this point. He told us to only do general liability at this point, and he would add it on as necessary.
It's necessary. You need to add it on.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah, get that taken care of.
all right.
All right, what's going on with the transportation plan?
Ms. Ours, do you want to speak to that?
Yeah, the transportation plan, we do have a vendor that is aware of what we need, and we did tell them about our enrollment fluctuation and, to go in between 2 and 3 buses. So that's where we are, and then we are going to, get that all hashed out before our June meeting. And he does want to present and know that. So he's willing to work with us on either 2 or 3 buses.
Okay, so, I mean, that's something that's ready, available, that the second you pull the trigger, you've got the buses?
Correct. Right. This is a transportation company, Urban Transportation. They're actually they were referred to us by another service that is already for school. So yes, he's ready. Just needs to know what we need, and he is aware of how we're paid and all that. So he's willing to work with us.
And you have sufficient funding budgeted for that?
Yeah, does that work into your budget?
Right, and that's what we're working on to make sure that it will work with lowered enrollment. It would have to be 2 buses instead of 3.
Okay, and so that's a service. Do they provide the drivers as well?
They do, yes, they do the entire thing. They will staff it. They will do the inspections. make sure everything's up to par. They do the whole thing. They're full service.
Okay, and then how about the lunch program?
The program we have taken, we put our information out there for bidding, and we have preferred meals and Charter One Foods who have responded to our bids, and we're looking to work with Preferred Foods. I've already talked with Mike from Preferred Foods, and he's available, already coming to the building. He feels that we will need minimal equipment, and he's going to provide the staffing who keep us in compliance with the USDA.
They're not gonna get, but what they're saying is they're insufficient progress, so we're looking at somebody else who's not gonna get reimbursed till October. So do they have sufficient money to cover their meal program until they can start getting reimbursed?
Do you have sufficient funds to be able to cover the meal program until you start getting reimbursed in October?
Yes, sir.
All right. I think they're pretty close.
What's gonna happen is these people are gonna get.
Also, may I add that since we submitted, we've received 13 new applicants just in the last week.
Okay.
So that puts our numbers up a bit.
So you're now at 256?
Yes, sir. And and all morning I've been getting calls. I actually have an office at the school, and I receive applicants every day. So.
All right. Well, I will move that we continue Ridgeview Charter School on the Ready to Open process, and I'm going to keep working to get this stuff taken care of.
Yes, sir.
What was her first day of school?
What's your first day of school?
August 26th.
August 26th,
Yeah.
So we have a motion. Do we have a second?
I second it.
We have a second. Any discussion?
I just want you to be careful of you getting more money for your projected enrollment and burning through your money too fast.
Yes, we're working with Charter Success and the partners who will be overseeing our money and keeping us on the straight and narrow.
Make sure you listen to them.
Well, the thing is that they don't know you spend it till after you spend it, so they need to be very cautious. That money that comes in the beginning, if they don't meet their numbers, it's gonna back up.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And hopefully, I mean, I think you're not too far behind. You may be up at full enrollment by the time it happens.
Yes, we have several engagements this summer. The mayor is supporting us. We have council people supporting us. And we have been granted access to some public meetings to address the school. We have a lot of marketing plans with the Gazette. So we're confident we're going to make our numbers.
All right. So we got a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it. And we'll move on now to Southwest Charlotte STEM Academy.
Southwest will be participating in the meeting via phone today. They are required to participate for similar issues with their liability insurance and also with the lunch program. They, again, according to School Nutrition Services, they have made insufficient progress toward opening the school with the National School Lunch Program.
Okay, who do we have on the phone from Southwest Charlotte STEM?
Good morning. My name is Shakira Barnes, principal. Christy Condon, secretary of the board.
Okay, what's going on with the liability insurance?
I talked with Jennifer Lucas from Alliance this morning, and according to her, she has already spoken with those people at BB&T, so that has been resolved.
Okay, so you have a certificate of liability insurance then?
Yes.
All right, get that in as soon as you can. And what's going on with the lunch program?
Ms. Duncan, are you available to speak more on that part?
I am. I didn't announce Dion Duncan, assistant principal. The paperwork is being sent today to Reggie The intent to provide a vendor paperwork wasn't sent in, but he is sending that in today.
And do you have sufficient funds in your budget to be able to cover these lunches until you start getting reimbursed in October?
I don't have an answer for that today, but right at this time, but I could get one before the close of the day. I'm actually looking at an email now. It looks like he's been able to send something since we spoke with him this morning at 8:30. So yes, I can get you an answer regarding the funds before the close of the day.
All right, we'll get that to the Office of Charter Schools.
Okay.
I move that Southwest Charlotte STEM Academy continue on the Ready to Open process.
Second.
All right, we got a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, no. The ayes have it. And we will move on to Steel Creek Preparatory Academy.
Still
Thank
Creek,
you.
Still Creek should be here in person and to speak about their enrollment.
That's a
Good
charter
afternoon.
school.
Kim White, Principal, Steel Creek Preparatory Academy. And Dr. Charles Nuzanov, our State Director of Charter Schools USA. And I believe we have a couple of our board members calling in as well.
Okay. Well, why don't you go ahead and just let us know what's going on with the enrollment. You're at 65% of your max right now. You have 400 students?
Right. That's
Okay.
correct.
What's the plan to get that up a little bit more?
So currently, we have 717 applications in process, and that includes that number of 400 completed registrations. And so we are actively pursuing those parents who've not completed the registration process by making telephone calls and creating evening opportunities for them to come in and do so. We also have marketing efforts underway where we have extended hours twice each week and some evening events where parents can come in and ask additional questions if they're uncertain about if Steel Creek Prep is the choice for their child.
And Charter Schools USA will cover any. I see heads shaking yes. All right. Any other questions?
Make a motion that we move them on to ready open status.
All right, we got a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
We got a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, no. The ayes have it. Motion carries. And we will move on to Tillery Charter Academy.
Thank you.
Tillery is expected to appear in person today to also talk about their enrollment.
Where's Tillery?
Montgomery County.
Where is it? At the mountain?
No,
No.
above
Charlotte.
Anson,
South of Randolph.
above Anson County.
Sorry.
Hello.
Hey. Ready?
Sure. Tell us about the enrollment.
All right.
Well, you can identify yourself. We know, but we want it in minutes.
Rhonda Dillingham,
See if you know
board
it.
member of Tillery Charter Academy, and I'd like to introduce our principal, Teresa Harrison. She's been hired since we were here last. So as of Friday, we are at 88 enrolled students with 17 pending applications, which those pending applications are just a matter of getting the enrollment documentation in, which would bring us up to very, very close to 75%, which is required. Efforts to increase our enrollment include a welcome day packet on the 15th of the month, as well as a booth at the Troy 4th of July event. And we're gonna have a beautification day for parents to come out on June 22nd and, encourage some excitement about getting the school going and hopefully get some more buzz about the school as well. The school is the recipient of a CSP grant, and as a result of that, we'll be able to increase our marketing efforts because that money will be able to be reimbursed. So I'm confident that we are going to be in a good place when school starts on August 26th.
Do you have a weighted lottery, Rhonda?
Yes.
What's that number?
I'm sorry, what?
What's percentage?
It's 50.
What was the question?
Weighted
What the
lottery.
percentage?
I don't think we're
Weighted
gonna get to the lottery.
No, because,
That's really true.
That's part of
Yeah.
the grant, though, right?
Right. But if you,
It's only if you have enough applicants.
They've begun the amendment process. It has not been approved yet.
right. Well, and you can't have a lottery until you have more kids than you got space. And they're not there yet.
Okay. So just keep trugging away at that.
I make a motion that we move Tillery Charter Academy ahead to ready open status.
All right, we got a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. The ayes have it. The
Thank you.
motion carries, and we will go to Westlake.
Can I have just a quick question? I should have asked it before.
Sure.
Who's watching your finances? Because you guys may have the same problem that some of these other schools, getting a big lump sum because of your projections.
Goodall Consulting is helping us with that.
Okay. Be sure to watch that.
Absolutely.
Okay. Go with Westlake.
Okay, Westlake, representatives from Westlake should be on the phone. They are participating in the meeting today because of their enrollment and also because of their lunch plan. They are not planning to be a part of the National School Lunch Program in their first year, which of course is fine, but they do not seem to have a lunch plan currently, or did not submit evidence of such in their
Kim
RTO
Alexander.
vacancies.
Okay, do we have anybody on the phone from Westlake?
You do. This is Kim Alexander, principal.
Hey there, Kim. Stephen Walker here. Can you tell us a little bit? Your enrollment's pretty close to what your amended number is. You're at 73%. I think we're more concerned about the lunch plan. What is your plan for students that don't have a lunch?
So we're going to definitely make sure that all students who do not have lunch have access to food or lunch. We want to make sure that in the beginning of the year we provide families with the free and reduced lunch form so that they can apply, and we'll know who those students are without having to target or single them out. Daily we will have sandwiches, fruit, vegetables, milk, and juice provided for the students who are in need of lunch, and we'll make sure that the same lunch menu is available to all students so that they don't feel like they're getting something different or being singled out.
Okay. Anybody have any questions? Make sure you get that in writing to the Office of Charter Schools. So I will move that we continue Westlake Preparatory Academy on the ready to open process.
I second it.
And also with that they submit a lunch plan before the July meeting to the Office of Charter Schools. So we got a motion and a second. Do we have any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. The ayes have it, and the motion carries. We will move back now to Pocosin Innovative Charter. And we still have the Pocosin folks online?
Yes, we're here.
Okay, I
Thank
mean,
you.
I think I think this is what we kind of were worried about with
Acceleration.
with acceleration.
with this one.
Right. Well, we feel confident that in the time that we have left before students show up on the first day, we have all confidence that a lot of these things will be tied up and done in the next week or two. And with our director that we have hired, who opened a charter school last year, who will be on board with us shortly at the school, we have all confidence with him joining us for the last 2 months before kids get here, that we'll be able to wrap all of these issues up. And I would like to circle back to our lunch plan. While we were actually on hold, we did get confirmation from Washington County Schools, and that we will be having a meeting with them set up for this Thursday to discuss the partnership and collaboration for school lunches. And they have collaborated with a charter school before. They have served lunches to NERSA when it originally opened at the William James Research Center. And so this is something that's already been done before with Washington County in a charter school. And they've actually been delayed because they had a new school nutritionist that just came on board this month.
She said they partnered with a charter before I never heard of.
Which
It's
you
the
said there was
regional
a-
school, it's not a charter.
Regional school, okay.
It's a regional school. So here's my concern. It was an acceleration, and every single area is tentative at this point.
Except for
Um,
facilities.
Except facility. Everything else is
And
tentative at
enrollment's
this point.
close, but-
And money's going out in 3 weeks.
And going back to our enrollment, we actually do have 88% of our enrollment up to our classroom sizes.
Say that again?
They do have some wait lists on some of their grades.
Yes, we do.
This is Danny Hester, Board Chair.
Of which board? Pocosin?
No.
Westlake.
Westlake, we're already done with y'all. Y'all are good to go.
I'm sorry. Thank you so much. They had told me it was 12:05, but I apologize. I do apologize.
It was. We're
Bye-bye.
just being very efficient. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Let me ask a question, because who's watching their finances, who are they partnering with?
Pocosin, this is for Pocosin. All that's left is Pocosin. Who's dealing with your finances?
Hilton Chesson is our main finance person in regards and collaboration with Alliance Education Services.
Okay.
Alliance.
Unfortunately, he is not on the call, but I am aware of some budget, if that helps, we can answer any of those questions.
Let me ask the board this, the Charter School Advisory Board. What would be the possibility of us having a called meeting on like June 24th to
Yeah, it
see
needs
the
to be
update
before
on
the
this?
end of the month. Yes, I
And,
agree.
and then we could make a
I
quick
agree.
decision on this to see if we're,
This is,
I mean, I want the liability insurance, I want the certificate in, I wanna hear you've got 75% of your teachers hired. I wanna see the transportation plan solid as can be, lunch program needs to be taken care of. And if we can't get that by June 24th, you know, and some more students as well, I just don't know how we're gonna move forward, because I think you know, we were pretty clear when we did the acceleration schools, don't come asking for an amendment, because the answer, delay. So I think, you know, what would everybody be available on the 24th to do? I mean, we're talking like a
2 weeks from
30-minute
today.
conference call.
No, hopefully not even that long, if they've got everything ready to go.
Yes, that would be fine.
have a meeting if we do it in the morning.
July, what? Or
June
24th.
23rd?
They give us 2 weeks, 24th.
24th, gives them 2 weeks.
And I wanna see documentation. I don't wanna just hear, well, we-
Right,
Right.
no
Right, right, right.
no
Yeah.
hearsay.
I wanna see
False
documentation
evidence.
for some stuff.
Yeah, I mean, really what this meeting should be is Dr. Williams says, I've received everything, they're in total compliance, they're ready to go. And then we say,
Good.
move them forward, done. And that's really what needs to happen. You got 2 weeks to make it happen.
Well, what that means is that they have to have it submitted to her on the Friday prior to the 24th.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes.
Can you repeat that to them so they?
Yeah, that really means you need to have it submitted on the Friday before the 24th.
So that would
So
be,
the 21st.
We will work directly with Dr. Williams and have everything to her
June
as
21st.
we get it, and then she can portray whether or not we have anything else that we need to send.
Can I request that it be submitted on that Thursday, so Dr. Williams doesn't have to work all weekend to get it
All right,
ready?
you're gonna get it done by the 20th.
And have everything to her by the 21st?
No,
No,
you're gonna have
on
everything
the
to her by the 20th, by the close of
Thursday the
business, so
20th.
that she doesn't have to work over the weekend. Because she's not opening the school.
Understood.
Yep, so in the words of Larry the Cable Guy, get her done.
Yes, sir.
All right, so, what we'll do then is I move that we table the Pocosin discussion until the June 24th meeting of the, called meeting of the Charter School Advisory Board.
Second.
All right, do we have any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. The ayes have it. Sorry, we just added another meeting,
It'll
but,
be a
sorry,
quick one.
Alex, I know you're not listening.
What time of day?
We'll work it out, but we'll try to do
Yeah.
it first thing in the morning.
Yeah.
Probably around 9, but we'll.
I have
you
a
know.
luncheon engagement, it's very important.
We will do that.
Just not 8 o'clock.
Not 8 o'clock.
We'll let you
9
know.
o'clock.
Hey, one time we did was it
Oh, I
7 or
was.
6 that we had that one meeting? 7 a.m.
You
That
go
was
up
it.
at 8, don't you?
It's before me.
I think that one was my idea when we did it then, but anyway.
School's out.
Sherry,
All right.
do you not work in the summer?
Okay, so we
Every morning, but
we are good then. We're ready to open interviews, it looks like. So thank you, Dr. Williams.
Thank you.
Great work.
By the way, Alex was not on the phone.
That wasn't him.
That was not him. I don't know who it was.
I'm going to take care of this right here. Thank y'all so much on the phone. If you want to listen, you can go online and listen to the rest of the meeting. There we go. We have taken care of the voter on the. It wasn't.
It wasn't Alex. He had texted.
What in the world? All right, let's go back to our amendment request then. So this will be, start off with Nina Charter of Lee County.
All right.
We just approved it.
We have several weighted lottery amendments before you today. The first one is for Mena Charter School of Lee County, which was approved at the last state board meeting to open in Lee County in 2020. They will serve grades K to 5, and they have recently been awarded an NC Access Planning and Implementation Grant. So as part of that, they are requesting a weighted lottery.
Move we recommend approval.
Second.
All right, got a motion and a second. Any discussion, questions?
What was their percentage?
What's the
35?
percent?
They are 85%. That's their target.
Their weighted lottery is 85%? Okay.
Well,
All right, any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. The ayes have it, and we'll recommend approval of that to the state board. Number 2, Evergreen Community Charter.
Okay, Evergreen is a charter school serving K to 8 in Buncombe County, I think. They began operation in 1999, so they have been in operation for quite a while. They currently serve about, or they have served around 50% economically disadvantaged students in past years, but they've seen a decline over the years, which is why they began to discuss a weighted lottery. And they are going to set an annual target each year, looking at grade levels and total seats available. And their goal is to have between 30 and 50% of students in each grade level economically disadvantaged.
So what's the minimum number on their weighted lottery then?
30%.
Okay. All right, do we have a motion on that?
So moved.
All right.
Second.
Second, so motion to recommend approval been made and seconded. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. The ayes have it. And we'll move on to Willow Oak Montessori.
Okay, Willow Oak, they, it's a Montessori school serving grades 1st to 8th in Chatham County. They have been in operation since 2013, and they have also, like these other schools, decided they would like to implement a weighted lottery. I believe their goal is 40% of available spots in each grade level.
Okay? We have a motion?
So moved.
All right.
Second.
Motion to approve, recommend approval, and we've got a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. The ayes have it. Pocosin Innovative Charter.
All right, Pocosin, you just spoke to them. They are on accelerated timeline, scheduled to open in August in Washington County, serving grades K through 8. They their goal is, let's see. Sorry. 75% to 100% of students economically disadvantaged.
Wow.
Wow.
I'm confused. Why?
I think this was part of the grant.
You have to have a weighted lottery to apply for the grant.
So
you
have to What- say that you gotta what is their-
They get approved for the grant?
They didn't, I don't believe.
They
They apply.
no,
No,
they
they
have
did
not, but I'm sure they're gonna want
They're
to.
gonna wanna apply. They want to apply.
Does that amendment say what the minimum EDS population that they're gonna have?
Let's see. They are going to calculate a weight of 1.5 to 4.0 is how they're going to be doing like an actual weighted lottery. And so they are calculating it each year to maximize the probability that 75% to 100% of students will be economically disadvantaged.
So basically, you're gonna go in there, your name's gonna go in 4 times.
Right.
Yeah, yes, and I think they're gonna have to each
So they're
year.
not setting aside seats, they're actually weighting the names.
Exactly.
Oh, okay.
They said they were posting innovative.
Well,
It's a different way
but
to do
this,
it.
this only
They started
applies
already.
year 2 forward, right? So they still.
It would apply to year 1, but I don't think they're gonna have a lottery. So,
Well, that's what I mean. They're not going to have a lottery this year.
But it's a high economic need area.
Yes, I mean, basically what they're saying is that this is the area.
Yeah. So, I mean, it fits.
But do we make a motion to approve when we're unsure about the status of them to begin with?
I think we can.
Yeah, because otherwise we have to come back to it, and this is just an amendment to that. They'd have, if they open, they have to have that.
Right.
Well, okay then.
Do we have a motion to recommend approval? All right, moved by Cheryl Turner, do we have a second?
A second.
2 seconds. We'll go with Heather Von Cannon. Second.
Ladies first.
Yeah. All right, any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. The ayes have it. We'll move forward with Two Rivers Community School, who wants to fix grammar.
Yes, so this is a pretty simple request. It is a mission statement, must be, requires approval by your board and the state board, and it is simply to correct like a grammatical error. There is no substantive change to the mission statement.
They had the apostrophe on the wrong side of the S.
They were singular both ways. It was the student and then his or her, and now they're going the student to their students.
Yeah.
The students.
Whatever.
I move that we accept the amendment.
Second. Well, second by Bruce Friend. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. The ayes have it.
Two Rivers is not to be confused with Three Rivers, correct? We're talking about Two Rivers.
Three Rivers.
Oh, my goodness.
So it's
We're-
not Pittsburgh, right?
I hope we get an application for a Four Rivers.
There you go.
All right. then
And I think it's
we are-
important too that, because we're getting more and more weighted lottery amendments, which is great, but with the guidelines that Ashley has been giving, we're also asking for, what is your marketing plan, what is your recruiting plan? Because there is some concerns, but we say they want to have a weighted lottery, but they don't have a good plan to recruit those students. So that's part of the guidelines that Ashley put together when they do request this amendment, because we want to be conscious of how do they intend to recruit, not just say they're gonna do it.
Good.
Yeah, weighted lottery doesn't help if you don't have enough
Yeah, right.
students
Exactly.
that meet the criteria. All right, we'll move on then to State Board of Education CSAB meeting updates. Mr.
Okay.
Machado?
Yeah. State Board of Ed did approve the CSP grant recommendations that you made last month after a very good, thorough discussion, and Jay did a great job in explaining everything, and his team has done an excellent job getting ready for this that point. So we appreciate Jay and his access team. They did approve Westlake's amendment request to decrease their enrollment. Obviously, they approved 10 of the 12 applications that you sent to them, and they sent North Raleigh and Wake back, which you guys have acted on today. They did discuss NCVA's amendment to increase their enrollment by 20%. They'll be voting on that at their next meeting. And they did discuss Queen City's STEM request to increase their enrollment more than the allowable 30%. And they'll be voting on that at their next meeting. Just some OCS updates. New Leaders Institute is tomorrow and Wednesday. That is for all the schools that are going to be opening up in August. It'll be a 2-day training. Our office is having a retreat, strategic planning and retreat on the 27th and 28th. There is a regional huddle on July 16th at Greystone Day School. Love to see any of the CSAB members if they wanted to attend. The North Carolina Association of Public Charter School Conference is the 21st through the 23rd, which we'll be attending, and as we'll be holding your meeting on that Monday, the 22nd, at 9 o'clock or 10 o'clock? At 10 o'clock. Anybody that has not registered or hasn't registered for their hotel room, if you need any information, we've already sent it out to you, but if you need the information on how to reserve your room, let us know, we'll send it back to you. You'll have to personally make that reservation, but we're registering you for the conference. The CSP grant budget sessions, the first sessions I'll have with the schools that have been approved will be July 18th, 19th, and the 25th, so we're excited about getting that kicked off. Happy to announce that we got a couple new OCS members. Claire Porter. Claire here? She She was a founding board member of Raleigh Oak Charter and worked founding principal too. We're really happy to have her on board. And Mariama Janae, did I mispronounce your name? Okay. She is was a final member of the CSP grant team, so we're really happy to have her on board. So Jay's got a full team, and with me not being here last meeting, and because I was at this resort called Wake Med North. I just want to really
glad you could chuckle about it.
I want to thank my staff for. I had a text Ashley from the emergency room Thursday morning of State Board and said, "I'm sorry, I'm not going to be there." And then handling the CSAP meeting, this entire team is. I can't thank them enough for the quality of work that they are doing for the Office of Charter Schools. So, guys, I really thank you for all your hard work. And I've asked Joe Mamoni to kind of give us a quick update on the anonymous tip line that was rolled out last week, and something that our office is getting a lot of information on, so we can share the information with our schools. And Joe's been very involved in this process. I want to let you give us an overview.
I want to thank Shonda Cooper for being part of our team to help roll this out, so charter schools will be updated promptly when things are happening. We're planning to get a letter out to superintendents and school directors by the end of this week to give them some information about how the rollout's going to work and to answer a bunch of frequently asked questions that Say Something puts out for schools to have access to. After a lengthy RFP process, I think we made a great decision to go with the Sandy Hook Promise folks. That rolls out the Sandy Hook, the Sandy Hook Promise, the Say Something app. It's a downloadable app for all students. The idea is we want students to be engaged in keeping our schools safe. That's ultimately what it comes down to. It's free to all the schools. The great thing about working with the Say Something folks is their training processes are very thorough. So they're going to be working with charter schools and with traditional schools to make sure staff is getting properly trained and students will be trained at every school and every opportunity that they have to roll this out through the fall. We plan to give some presentations at upcoming conferences, particularly the Charter School Conference out in Cherokee. We're going to try to get some folks together for the huddle as well. And if there are opportunities with your particular schools, we'll certainly let you know when we can make folks come out there and visit. Again, it's the most important piece of this is that we're engaging students in the very important work of keeping our schools safe. We don't want students downloading the app at this point because training has to come first so they know what to do, how to do it. The big bottleneck is going to be the 911 system. That's the first piece that has to be trained on how to use the system properly, and we're hoping to get that done through the month of June, maybe part of July, and then we'll be fully out there, as well, working with the schools, working with any opportunities during the summer for conferences for traditional and charter schools to get that information out. They also have a lot of stuff online. You can go to saysomething.net. I urge you to do that. Take a look at it. If you have folks asking about it, let them know to be on the lookout for the letter that will be coming to the directors and to look at those frequently asked questions. So we're excited about that. The other big announcement that just broke this past week was the Read to Achieve. As you know, charter schools are not obligated to do the M-Class. I know we were all happy about that in the past. But M-Class will no longer be the Read to Achieve a diagnostic for the K-3 program. It's now going to be iStation. So take a look at iStation when you have an opportunity. Charter schools will have an opportunity to opt into that, but as far as I know, will not be mandated to do that, like similar with M-Class. So those are two major rollouts that are going to happen this summer. A lot of stress level at the district levels about rolling these things out. Probably will be some stress at the charter school level as well, but hopefully not nearly as much. But very positive things moving forward. Sure.
I would like to ask just a couple of questions. What is the difference between the Sandy Hook Promise and the Sandy Hook Promise Foundation?
The foundation is a separate funding arm of the group.
Okay.
So there are some people that overlap, but they're the ones who raise the money to help us do free training across all the schools. So what we pay for as a state, we're only the second state in the country, you probably heard, that are rolling this out statewide. What we're paying for, about $650,000 worth, is our own North Carolina dedicated command center to triage tips when they come in. We'll initially be working out of their Miami headquarters in Florida, but the goal is to eventually have our own North Carolina command center. And again, the importance of that is you need a trained, experienced triage group to take tips in, 90+% of which come in via the app. There's some that come through the website, very few that come through telephone. But to know how to forward those tips to the right authorities and folks. Something like 15% of the tips, especially initially when you roll it out, are considered life-threatening tips. And those could be, concerns about suicide, which is obviously a big focus today in terms of making sure we train our kids, help them understand how to be part of suicide prevention, not only for themselves, but for their peers as well. So that's a huge plus, again, in working with a group that has the manpower to do the in-person training at every school. They also have opportunities to help start clubs or encourage club participation to take on their SAVE kind of, keeping students involved in against violence. So it's a great program.
I know at the state board meeting, we
Sure.
talked about the clubs.
Yes.
Is every school going to be required to have one of these clubs?
Absolutely not.
Okay.
They will not be required. They'll be encouraged to participate as part of maybe another club, maybe
Right.
student council, but they're not going to be mandated to start a particular club. One thing that is, depending on how legislation goes through this next couple of months, which could be anything, there may also be additional requirements on charters and traditionals to put together school safety teams that have to do threat and risk assessments at their school, and charters are included in that legislation. Another plus about working with this contract with Sandy Hook is their training will be considered sufficient for a lot of those requirements, particularly suicide prevention, helping with the school safety teams. So what's the big work that's going to need to come back from the charter schools? It's very simply this: at some point during the summer, Chandra's going to be reaching out to you to get a contact list. Who do you want to be contacted for tips? Certainly your school director will be one. We hope you have an SRO officer. Again, this is grades 6 through 12. So this will be every school that has a sixth grade. So if you're K-8, you will be included. If you're K-5, you will not. If you're 5-8, you will be included. So any school that has a sixth grade. So we want your school director, your guidance counselor, your SRO. Those folks will be the core to your school safety team. That's kind of the wrap.
I have a question about
Sure.
M-Class. So the state's not going to support M-Class this fall forward?
Correct.
They're switching to iStation?
Yes, that is correct.
But they're going to make that available to charters just like they have the M-Class?
That is my understanding. There's going to be so much work to be done in the rollout to the traditional schools because it's mandatory for the traditional schools. As far as I know, correct me if I'm wrong, Stephen, it's still optional for charter schools. So the priority is going to be to get it to the traditional schools because we had hoped to have that RFP wrapped up 3 or 4 months ago, but because of massive delays in that process, it's right before the summer, so it's very stressful on a lot of the school systems to have that happening.
If you've never gone through an RFP process, especially one that involves information technology, then you're missing out on a little slice of hell that you could be a part of. Because it's horrible. It's the worst process known to man. So, feel your pain.
It's been a painful run on a couple of big RFPs.
Communicating that out to the schools, Joe.
Which part? The the iStation?
iStation.
Well, the focus right now is on traditional schools. The first big email is going out this afternoon to the superintendents, and then
That is new.
there was an email that went out Friday afternoon as well, just to
Yeah, one.
just to alert folks. So they're trying to give as much detail as they can in a short amount of time, knowing that a lot of folks middle of June are going to be going off on vacations. So the K-3 literacy team, the regional support team, they're all going to be working very closely with the different teams that focus in on that K-3 literacy piece. It's going to be a lot of work, but I think in the long run, we're going to be much better off with a much better program that we've heard all the complaints from teachers. It takes too much time away from instruction, pulls kids out of the classroom, and it's not a good system. So we're very, very happy with the iStation
So what were
system.
the advantages to iStation?
I'm not the expert in that area, so I'm not going to speak out of turn.
Have either of you used iStation? We've
I've
always
never
used
seen it.
M-Class.
You've
Yeah.
used, we used M-Class.
Yeah.
We use M-Class.
Again, the big focus has been not taking kids away from core instruction and being able to use iStation in a more efficient way so kids don't miss instruction.
Who what company does iStation come
I don't know. Yeah.
Will iStation then be used for growth for K2?
Eric, do you know that answer? Will iStation be able to provide growth for K2? I presume yes.
I haven't been involved in the process. I
Yeah.
can't tell you.
Yeah. I believe it will, but again, more details will come part of accountability.
All right.
One announcement. Okay.
Announcement by Linda Lynn.
The North Carolina Coalition for Charter Schools is having a legislative review, the good, the bad, and the ugly, on Friday, 12 noon. If anyone would like to come to that, it's here in Raleigh, and it's a free lunch. So let me know if you'd like
But
to
it's
come.
no longer, you can't call in now.
Yeah, well, you can still call in.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll have a WebEx too. But you will have to have the security code and all that, so let me know.
Hey,
Just a couple announcements. Remember, our next meeting will be a call meeting on June 24th. July meeting will be July 22nd in Cherokee, and there'll be no meeting in August.
Do we have September
Yay.
dates?
We do have the dates after that. We'll send that out to you. So, and we also have an intern that's working with us this summer, and Alicia Mapin. I asked her to just come up and just introduce herself and tell her. She's been very involved with the Sandy Hook Promise with Shonda. And she's done a fabulous job for the 3 weeks that you've been here, and I wanted to make sure everybody knew who Alicia was and a little introduction to who you are.
So thank you. Hi, my name is Alicia Maupin. I am in grad school right now at UNCW, but I did my undergrad at NC State, so it's really nice to be back in the Triangle. Growing up in Boone, North Carolina, and then slowly moving from the mountains to the coast and going through public school K through 12, it's really been incredible to be kind of on the other side of it and see how things operate. Get to work with the Office of Charter Schools, and like Dave mentioned, really getting to work a lot with Shonda and getting to be involved in the Say Something app. So definitely, I think it's so incredible. So just to be on that side, and thank you for the opportunity. And I look forward to seeing people around, maybe in an elevator ride. So thank you.
Hey. Anything else we need to handle in open session? All right, then here's what I'm gonna do. I move that we go into closed session and that to discuss attorney-client privilege matters with our attorneys, and that at the time that we leave closed session, that we will adjourn. So that's a motion. Do we have a second?
Second that.
All right, second by Linda Lynn. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Okay, let's take we'll start closed session at 12:25, so that gives you about 8 minutes. Take a little break in closed session, and then we'll adjourn when closed session's over. Thank you.
I sure hope I don't need them.
What's it supposed to rain?